The second half of the soccer match started soon after. Just before kickoff, Damien turned to Leo. "Miller," he said, "who do you think is going to win this thing?" "The SGA?" "Obviously," Leo answered without a second's thought. "I'm the president. I gotta back my own people." Damien stroked his chin. "I don't know. I've got a feeling the club coalition is about to make a comeback." "What gives you that idea?" Leo shot back. Damien looked at him with an expression of pure, unadulterated foolishness. "Well, in movies and TV shows, isn't it always the underdog team that makes a miraculous comeback in the final moments?" Leo just stared at him, utterly silent. "Why'd you stop talking?" Damien asked, looking at the speechless Leo. "Was I wrong?" Leo didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "You said it yourself. That's in the movies. In real life, skill is what matters." "All right, then let's make a bet," Damien said, a grin spreading across his face. "I'll bet on the United clubs to win." "You're on." "I've got the SG," Leo said. "What are the stakes?" "Money. Too tacky." "Then what?" "A call me dad bet," Leo said, a wicked smile creeping onto his lips. "Loser has to call the winner dad. You in." You said it, not me." Damien's expression turned serious. If it were just money, he wouldn't care how much they wagered. But this was a matter of pride. Leo nodded, satisfied. "Great. Get ready to call me dad." Damien lifted his chin, sniffing dismissively. "Umph. The game's not over. We'll see who's calling who." Nearby, Saraphina and Julianne watched the two of them, shaking their heads with helpless smiles. "Why are they so childish?" Saraphina asked Julianne. Julianne shrugged. "I guess it's true what they say. Boys will be boys. Even the part about calling each other dad? Beats me. I guess so." With a bet on the line, Leo and Damien watched the second half with an intensity that made them completely ignore their girlfriends. Seraphina and Julianne, who had only been half watching the first half and failed to get invested, had no interest in seeing the rest. After telling their boyfriends, they left the stands together and headed off the field. The second half was even more thrilling. The club team scored right away, tying the game 1-1. Leo, who had been brimming with confidence, suddenly felt a knot of anxiety in his stomach. 10 minutes later, the club scored again. The score was now 1-2. An undeniable smirk began to play on Damien's lips. He turned to Leo. "Miller, your SGA team isn't as tough as you made them out to be." Leo, though panicking internally, put on a calm front. "There are still 20 minutes left. It ain't over till it's over. This one's in the bag for me. Just you wait," Damien said. The words had barely left his mouth when the SGA scored, tying the game again. A confident smile instantly returned to Leo's face. "See? All tied up." For the next 20 minutes, neither team managed to score. Finally, in overtime, the SGA team broke through the defense and scored a goal. The final score was 3-2. The SGA had won. The weight lifted from Leo's chest. The first thing he did was post a huge cash giveaway in the SGA group chat to celebrate their victory. After that, he turned to Damien, a wide grin splitting his face. "All right, Sterling. A bit. Let's hear it." The last of Damien's hope died. He covered his face, steeling himself for a good 30 seconds before finally forcing out the word, "Dad." Leo held up his phone, recording a video as he replied, "That's right, my boy." "What the hell? You're recording this?" Damien lunged for the phone. "Miller, you've got no honor." "Hey, you never said I couldn't record," Leo said, dodging Damien's grab before quickly scrambling down the bleachers. "Get back here and delete that video, you asshole." Damien yelled, chasing after him. Under Damien's intense demands, Leo finally agreed to delete the video. Or so he said. He'd already backed it up. Even if he deleted it from his photo album and the recently deleted folder, he could always recover it from the cloud. He'd learned that particular trick from Julianne. Every time she snapped a meme-worthy photo of him and he managed to snatch her phone to delete it, she'd just restore it from her backup and turn it into a new sticker for their chats. He never thought he'd use such an insidious tactic himself, but damn, it really worked. After leaving the field, the two of them had originally planned to find their girlfriends. But as they passed the natatorium, the sound of cheering from inside drew them in. They couldn't help but wander inside, definitely not to check out the girls swimming, of course. They arrived just in time for the women's 100-meter freestyle. Finding a spot in the stands, they sat down to appreciate the beautiful swimming competition. "Hey look," Damien said, "that girl's got really long legs." "The one next to her is so pale," Leo added. "Are they paler than Julianne's?" "Julianne's legs are pale, sure," Leo mused, "but they're not that long." He cut himself off, a sudden cold dread washing over him. That voice hadn't been Damien's. He whipped his head around. Julianne was sitting right behind him, and he had no idea how long she'd been there. The shock sent a jolt through his entire body. Next to her, Saraphina posed a question of her own to Damien. And are her legs paler than Saraphina Rose's? Damien, still engrossed in the competition, didn't even register who was talking. Of course my girlfriend's legs are pale, he answered dumbly. Miller, why are you asking me that? He turned, expecting to see Leo, but instead found himself face to face with Saraphina. Like Leo, he was so startled he let out a little shriek. Babe, what are you doing here? Damien asked nervously. I've been sitting behind you this whole time, Saraphina said, her eyes narrowed. Why are you so nervous? Got a guilty conscience? No, of course not, Damien said, shaking his head. I only came because Miller dragged me here. What the? You're throwing me under the bus. Leo, seeing Damien betray him, immediately fired back. What does this have to do with me? You were the one who wanted to come and insisted I come with you. He turned to Julianne. Babe, he dragged me in here, I swear. Julianne's eyes were narrowed, a smile on her face that was pure murder. And you think I believe that? Also, you just said my legs aren't as long as hers. You are so dead. Within moments, both boys were being dragged out of the natatorium by their respective girlfriends. After leaving the natatorium, the group headed to the main gymnasium, where a ping-pong tournament was underway on the first floor. Miller, you play ping-pong? Damien asked. I dabble, Leo said, turning to him. Why? Want to play a round? Are we betting? Another call me dad bet. You know it. Let's go. They found an empty table not being used for the tournament, and Leo had someone from the SGA bring over a set of paddles. Julian looked on, a little exasperated. Are they literal children? Do they have to turn everything into a competition? Saraphina sighed. Well, it's better than them staring at girls in the swimming pool. I think they're playing badminton on the second floor, Julianne said. Want to go check it out? Sure, Saraphina agreed. Let them have their fun here. Leo and Damien were evenly matched. After playing for what felt like an eternity, they were both exhausted without a clear winner, so they called a timeout. Hey, where'd your girlfriend go? Damien asked, scanning the area. He looked again. Wait, where'd my girlfriend go? Leo wiped the sweat from his forehead. Probably went upstairs. Come on, let's go check the second floor. They put down their paddles, ready to head up, when a short-haired girl walked over with 2 bottles of water. They recognized her. She was the SGA volunteer who had brought them the paddles. She gave them a polite smile. President Miller, have some water. Thanks, Leo said, nodding as he took one of the bottles. Since she was from the SGA, he didn't think twice about it. If a random girl had offered him water on the street, he would have refused. Julianne would have killed him. Thanks, Damien said, seeing Leo take one, and accepted the other bottle. Leo handed the paddle set back to the girl. Could you take these back for us? We're done. No trouble at all, the girl said, waving her hands quickly. It's nothing. Water bottles in hand, the 2 guys went up to the second floor. Sure enough, Saraphina and Julianne were there. They found a couple of badminton rackets somewhere and were attempting to play, but it was clear neither had an athletic bone in their body. Saraphina stood in place, failing to serve the birdie over the net after several attempts. She handed it to Julianne, who managed to get it airborne, but it always flew too low to clear the net. Leo and Damien exchanged a look, both shaking their heads with amused, exasperated expressions. Damien walked over to Julianne. Let me and Saraphina play for a bit. Sure, Julianne said, handing him the racket. Damien set his water bottle down on the edge of the court and started teaching Saraphina how to play. Phew. Julianne collapsed onto a nearby bench, letting out a long sigh. Tired? Leo asked, seeing her exhale. He twisted the cap off the water bottle he'd been given and handed it to her. Here, have some water. Take a break. Thanks, babe, Julianne said, taking the bottle and sipping from it. Weren't you guys playing ping pong? How'd you have time to buy water? One of the SGA members gave it to us, Leo explained. The volunteers all get them. Oh, Julian nodded, teasing him. Of course, Mr. SGA president gets the special treatment, doesn't he? Leo gently poked her forehead. You're asking for a smack, you know that? Puffed, she said, sticking her tongue out playfully. Leo pinched her cheek. You dare stick your tongue out again? Are you threatening me? You think I won't? She challenged, sticking her tongue out again. See? I am MPH. Quick as a flash, the moment her tongue was out, Leo leaned in and pressed his lips against hers, pulling her tongue into his mouth. It was soft and slick, like a gummy candy that had been left out in the sun. Julian never saw it coming. She couldn't believe he'd be so bold, kissing her like that in such a public place. And a French kiss at that. Her eyes went wide with shock. She quickly tapped his shoulder twice, and he immediately let go. A little teasing was one thing, but even he didn't have the nerve to make out with her in front of everyone. When they were alone, however, that was a different story. You are impossible, she said, her face flushing as she playfully scolded him. She glanced over at Damen and Saraphina, who were completely absorbed in their game and seemingly hadn't noticed a thing. Only then did the blush on her face start to fade. Under Damien's careful instruction, Saraphina was finally able to return the birdie. He hit each shot gently, sending it high into the air so it would fall slowly, making it easier for a beginner to hit. Do you know how to play badminton? Julian asked Leo. He answered with his signature modesty. I dabble. She rolled her eyes. Is there anything you only dabble in? He rubbed his nose. I'm a miller. It's only natural I know how to do a lot of things, right? Fine, she said. Then you can teach me later. A sly, wicked grin appeared on his face. Call me master, and I'll teach you. He was starting to look more and more like her when he smiled like that. Maybe it was true what people said about couples starting to look alike after a while. She scoffed. It's not like you're the only one who can. I'll just ask Damien to teach me later. Hey, no, don't do that. I'll teach you. Thump. Just as Leo finished his sentence, a loud thud and a sharp cry came from the badminton court. Damien, so focused on the game, had stepped on the water bottle he'd left on the edge of the court. His ankle twisted, and he fell to the ground. Saraphina dropped her racket and rushed over. Are you okay? She asked frantically. I'm fine. A mere bottle of water is nothing to... Ow. Miller, stop pinching my ankle. Damien's alpha billionaire monologue was cut short by Leo. Leo pointed at his ankle. It's sprained. We need to get him to the campus clinic. Okay, right? Saraphina immediately took Damien's arm, and with Leo helping on the other side, they hoisted him to his feet. Julian gathered their things and followed behind. As she left, she picked up the water bottle that had caused the accident, intending to throw it in the trash. As she was about to toss it, she noticed the seal on the cap was broken. Assuming Damien must have opened it, she didn't think much of it and dropped it into a nearby bin before hurrying after the others. Hey, wait for me. Don't go so fast. The second floor of the gymnasium housed not only badminton courts, but also dedicated volleyball courts where a match was in progress. And at that moment, Ethan, Cole, and Jessica were there watching. Jessica, thank you for inviting me to your school's sports meet, Ethan said with a gentle smile. Oh, you're welcome, Jessica replied, waving a hand dismissively. Her gaze fell on the Prussian blue scarf around his neck. She pointed to it. You really seem to like that scarf. You were wearing it on Christmas, too. Ethan nodded. Yes, Prussian blue. It's a beautifully deadly color. Beautifully deadly? Jessica didn't quite understand. Ethan explained. The chemical name for Prussian blue is ferric ferrocyanide. It's a cyanide compound. Most cyanides are highly toxic, but in Prussian blue, the iron is bonded so tightly to the cyano groups that the poisonous cyanide ions can't break free. So, the pigment itself is non-toxic. He paused, then continued. Early production methods for Prussian blue were less refined and could be toxic during the manufacturing process. That's not an issue anymore, of course. So you see it's beautiful but also deadly. Jessica felt her head swim as he spoke. As an arts and humanities student, all this science was going right over her head. Seeing her confusion, Ethan smiled. He changed his approach. If you like detective novels or crime shows, you've probably heard of cyanide. Potassium cyanide is a colorless, odorless poison. You can't detect it in water, but one sip is fatal. There are a couple of cases in those popular crime dramas that involve cyanide poisoning. Jessica had been about to doze off during the chemistry lecture, but when he suddenly started talking about TV shows, she was wide awake again. Her eyes widened as she listened intently to his description of the plots. Oh, sorry, I got sidetracked, Ethan said with an embarrassed laugh. Don't apologize. It was really interesting, Jessica said, gazing at him. You seem to know so much about so many things. And I actually really like listening to you tell stories. Haha, really? Ethan laughed, a genuine warmth in his voice. If you like my stories, I can tell you more next time we have a chance. Okay. Jessica nodded eagerly. Oh, Ethan exclaimed, as if suddenly remembering something. If you like the scarf, I can give you one. I have a new one at home, same style. Jessica quickly waved her hands. Oh no, I couldn't. Really, you don't have to. Ethan smiled. It's no trouble. It was a gift from a brand I did a campaign for, so it was free. I'll bring it to you next time I see you. You do commercials? Jessica asked. Ethan nodded. Yeah, I'm a performance major at Ethelbert Prep, and companies sometimes come to campus to scout new talent for ads. I got lucky and landed a deal with a big brand. Jessica clapped her hands. That's amazing. No, it's just for fun, he said modestly. You're very beautiful, and you have a great singing voice. If you're interested, I could introduce you to some directors and producers in the entertainment industry. Oh no. Jessica shook her head. My family doesn't want me to be a pop singer. You study classical? MHM, Jessica nodded. And I hate it. Her words made Ethan pause. For a moment, he was reminded of Seraphina Rose. She had hated classical music, too, but her family had forced her to learn. When she was little, every time she made a mistake on an instrument, her tutor would strike her hands with a thin rod. She would come running to him in tears, and he would always have candy waiting for her, ready to listen as she vented about her hatred for classical music. Since you're already on this path, he said softly to Jessica, instead of hating it, why not try to embrace it? Look at it from a different angle. There's nothing wrong with classical music itself. What you hate isn't the music. Jessica listened, her beautiful eyes studying his face. How are you so good at comforting people? She asked. Ethan laughed, avoiding a direct answer. In the campus clinic, Damien had shooed Seraphina and Julianne out of the room, leaving only Leo to keep him company. The campus doctor was treating his sprained ankle, and he was yelping in pain. To think the great Damien Sterling could be brought so low. No wonder he'd kick the girls out. Leo couldn't help but chuckle. Damien winced. Miller, stop laughing. Talk to me, distract me from the pain. All right, I'll stop, Leo conceded. After the doctor finished, Leo and Seraphina helped him back to his dorm. Julianne tagged along, pressing the elevator button for them. It was Seraphina's first time in a two-person suite, and she was stunned by the interior. This is like a studio apartment from a TV show. It has everything. I was surprised the first time I came, too, Julianne said from the side. I thought our four-person room was nice, but their two-person suite is on another level. Seraphina looked at Leo curiously. Your housing fees must be pretty high, right? I actually have no idea. The university belonged to his family. He didn't have to pay for anything. He thought for a moment. They're reassigning dorms next semester. How about I arrange a room for you two? Right next to me and Sterling. Really? Seraphina's face lit up. A two-person dorm would have more private space. That would be great. God, what was I thinking? I should have arranged that for you from the start, Leo said, face-palming with a wry smile. Damien's face was red from holding back his groans of pain. Can you two stop chatting and get me my bed? He muttered. I can't stand much longer. Leo and Seraphina quickly helped him onto his bed. Seraphina stayed in the room to look after him, and not wanting to be a third wheel, Leo went out to the common area. Julianne was looking around the living room. It wasn't her first time here, but last time her focus had been entirely on Leo. She hadn't paid much attention to the decor. Looking at it now, she realized just how much nicer the two-person suite was. It was basically a two-bedroom apartment, just without a kitchen. Next semester, you and Seraphina will be right next door, Leo said. We can hang out, have dinner, whatever. Julianne gave him a wicked grin. Your bed looks pretty big. Maybe I should just move in with you. What? You don't want me to move in with you? Julianne teased. Of course I do. I'd be thrilled, Leo said, lightly tapping her nose with his finger. I'm just worried someone might end up crying for mercy. That's ridiculous. I think you'd be the one crying, Julianne shot back, her face flushing as she glared at him. You think you could handle it? You'd be begging me to stop in 2 days. Leo's face turned red. Bullshit. I could totally handle it. I'm in great shape. While Leo and Julianne were having their heated, not safe for work debate in the living room, things were much quieter in the bedroom. Damien and Seraphina, despite having been dating for a while, still felt a little awkward when they were alone together. After a long silence, Seraphina finally broke the tension. Is it feeling any better now that the doctor put medicine on it? Damien nodded immediately. Yeah, much better. It doesn't hurt as much. Seraphina gently poked his forehead and chided him softly. You big dummy. Why would you leave a water bottle on the edge of the court? Damien blushed. I was in a hurry to teach you how to play, so I just put it down. I didn't think I'd end up stepping on it. Hey, speaking of which, where is that bottle? Jules said she couldn't carry everything, so she threw it out on her way out, Seraphina explained. Damien nodded. Oh, okay. I hadn't even opened it yet. But whatever, it was just a bottle of water. He smiled at her. If Julianne had been in the room to hear that, she would have immediately run back to the gym to retrieve the bottle for a closer look. But she wasn't, so she couldn't. Seeing Seraphina still standing, Damien shifted on the bed. Seraphina, sit here. Seraphina sat on the edge of his bed. How come you don't have a chair in your room? I did, Damien explained, but I moved it out to the living room. I usually just sit on the couch out there anyway. I only come in here to sleep, or I just sit on the bed. I don't really need a chair in here. The chair Damien used to eat his instant ramen at the dining table was the one from his room. He found the dining chairs too hard, and it ruined the mood for his ramen. Why didn't he just eat in his room? because the smell of instant ramen was too strong and would linger. Eating in a living room allowed the smell to dissipate faster. Just sit tight for a minute. I have to make a call, Damien said, picking up his phone and dialing a number. I need the most comfortable chair in the world delivered here within half an hour. He stated his business and hung up. Saraphina didn't know whether to laugh or cry. You really don't have to do that. I'm just staying for a little while. There's no need to. No, Damien cut her off. My woman will not suffer the slightest discomfort. It had been a while since Saraphina had heard one of his alpha billionaire lines, and she wasn't quite used to it yet. Don't worry. As my woman, I will absolutely spoil you. Oh, shut up, Saraphina interrupted, pushing him back down onto the bed. Just get some sleep, you big talker. As she pulled the blanket up for him, her hand accidentally brushed against his chest. Despite not being a fitness nut like Leo, having a stomach condition, and loving junk food, Damien somehow maintained a perfect physique, complete with an 8-pack. It was completely illogical, perhaps a testament to the power of his character's original design. When Seraphina's palm touched his chest, Damien's heart began to race. A young man and woman, alone in a room, in a relationship, the slightest physical contact was enough to send the atmosphere crackling with unspoken tension. Seraphina felt his heart quicken and felt her own face flush, forgetting to move her hand. Seraphina, Damien asked, his voice barely a whisper, Can I kiss you? I already told you, I'm your girlfriend. You don't always have to. MMM. Before she could finish, Damien grabbed her hand, pulled her toward him, and captured her lips in a classic, domineering kiss. They kissed for what felt like an eternity, maybe 10 minutes before Damien pulled her fully onto the bed. At that exact moment, the bedroom door swung open. Leo's voice boomed through the room. Sterling, did you order a chair? Standing at the door were 4 people. Leo, Julianne, and 2 guys carrying a chair. 8 pairs of eyes were fixed on the scene, completely frozen in shock. Holy! Damien, who was halfway through taking off his shirt, was so startled by Leo's shout that he jerked his head up. Seeing the crowd at the door, his body spasmed, and he lost his balance, tumbling backward and falling right off the bed. Well, now it wasn't just his leg. His neck was sprained, too. Damien was once again carried back to the campus clinic, this time by Leo and the 3 delivery guys. Injured twice in less than an hour. There probably wasn't a more unlucky person in the world. And both incidents were entirely his own fault. Lying on his dorm bed with a neck brace, Damien stared at the plush leather armchair next to him, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. If he had known this would happen, he never would have ordered the damn chair. And even now, it still hadn't occurred to him that locking his door might be a good idea. Before the girls came back in, Leo patted Damien's shoulder. You just lie there and behave, okay? No more strenuous exercise for you. With that, Leo plopped down into the very chair that had caused the bloody mess and shot Damien a wicked grin. He was really starting to look more and more like Julianne. Damien managed a pained smile. I really wasn't. Miller, stop making fun of me. We hadn't even started when you guys barged in with the chair. Ha ha ha. Leo tried to hold it in, but seeing Damien's pathetic expression, he couldn't help but burst out laughing. Meanwhile, Nico Sterling was having a smoke in a school bathroom when his phone rang. What? You're telling me Damien went to the clinic twice? And the second time he was carried in? Ha ha. A strange, unsettling laugh escaped him. He immediately called Jason Jiang. Not bad, kid. How much cyanide did you put in that water bottle? Just a little. Not enough to kill him, but he shouldn't be feeling too good. Nico, are you sure we won't get in trouble for this? What are you afraid of? You should be thankful he still has that contract with the family shares to keep him alive. The day he's no longer useful, I'll have someone take care of him. Nico spat the last few words out through clenched teeth. At that moment, he was blissfully unaware, still believing Damien had gone to the clinic because he'd been poisoned. With Damien out of commission for the next few days, Seraphina stayed in the dorm to take care of him that afternoon. Leo and Julianne, naturally, weren't about to stick around and be third wheels. Besides, after what happened that morning, if the 2 of them decided to get into any more mischief, it would be incredibly awkward to be there to hear it. Not that it was likely. With his neck and leg injured, the degree of difficulty for any mischief was far too high. He'd probably throw out his back. After grabbing lunch at the cafeteria, Leo led Julianne straight to the student activity center. I thought we were going to the library, Julianne asked, holding her laptop bag. You don't have to be in a library to write a novel, Leo said, taking the bag from her. He took her hand with his other and walked into the building. During the sports meet, the SAC had launched a bunch of theme check-in events, so even in the middle of the day, The place was bustling with people participating in activities or watching the fun. They took the elevator to the second floor, which was much quieter since the main events were downstairs. The Campus Commons bookstore was open, with some students taking pictures for their check-in posts and others buying books. The university's main library was filled mostly with academic materials, while the bookstore sold newspapers, magazines, comics, and novels, so the two didn't conflict. In reality, the bookstore didn't make its profit from books. Its bestsellers were notebooks, pens, and fancy postcards. Recently, they had also started selling cheap pocket-sized books and little trinkets, which were also selling well. Leo walked up to the front counter, picked up 2 key cards, and then walked with Julianne to the store's reading area. Unlike the library, the books here couldn't be checked out. They could only be read in the designated seating area. The reading area was split into a general section and several private reading rooms. Rooms Leo had designed specifically for Julianne. One of the 4 rooms was in use, leaving 3 empty. Leo handed a card to Julianne. 1 room each. Let's see who can write more. You're on. The challenge sparked Julianne's competitive spirit. You're on your phone, and I'm on my laptop. There's no way you'll be faster than me. The bet is who writes more, not who writes faster. I type faster, so in the same amount of time, I'll obviously write more. Not necessarily. We'll have to see, Leo said, swiping his card to open one of the rooms. Beep. The reading room was a small cubicle with an ergonomic chair and a desk built into the wall, leaving plenty of legroom underneath. Wow, Julianne said with a soft gasp. The chairs in these rooms are so nice, even better than the libraries. The wooden chairs in the library study halls were hard, and but would start to hurt after sitting for a while. She sometimes brought a cushion with her. Leo puffed out his chest proudly. Of course. Look who designed it. Julianne's eyes lit up. You didn't design this just for me, did you? Yeah, Leo nodded. Sort of, but other people can use them, too. They have to buy a pass. You don't. Lily, you're amazing, Julianne exclaimed, throwing her arms around him and planting a big kiss on his cheek. After the kiss, she grabbed her laptop, went into her reading room, and said just before closing the door, word sprint. Loser has to wash the winner's feet tonight. For someone with claustrophobia, the small, enclosed space might have been hell. But for Julianne, who often felt a lack of security, it was heaven. Being in her own private space put her in a much better mood for writing. Outside, Leo touched the cheek she had just kissed, still a little dazed. When he came back to his senses, he smiled and went into his own room. Once he opened his writing app, an invitation for a word sprint from Julianne popped up. He joined, took a moment to gather his thoughts, and then began tapping furiously at his phone screen. In less than 3 minutes, his word count had already surpassed hers. An hour later, Leo had written 3,000 words on his phone. Julianne, on her keyboard, had just barely passed 2,000. See? This is the level of a professional writer with 2.5 years of practice. Seeing how slow she was going, Leo took a break. While resting, he couldn't resist sending a smug message to taunt her. Gotta pick up the pace, rookie. Winky face in the next room, Julianne was sweating from typing so intensely. She glanced at the message from Leo and didn't have time to reply, so she just muttered angrily to herself, Leo Miller, you are so dead when I get out of here. The soundproofing in the cubicles was so good that, despite being right next door, Leo didn't hear a thing. He spent about 15 minutes scrolling through short-form videos. When Julianne's word count neared 3,000, he started writing again. Soon, he had finished 4,000 words, with 300 to spare. Julianne, on the other hand, had just passed 3,700. He sent her another message. No need to keep going? You've already lost, rookie. Julianne didn't reply. About 10 minutes later, when her word count finally hit 4,000, she picked up her phone and sent him a message. Julianne, I'm never competing with you in a word sprint again. It was followed by an angry sticker. They opened their doors at almost the same time. Leo wore a triumphant grin, while Julianne glared at him, puffed up like an angry kitten. Loser has to wash the winner's feet tonight, Leo said with a smile. You're the one who said it. I know, she snapped through clenched teeth. After a moment, she asked, how do you type so fast on your phone? Are you just mashing random symbols? Bullshit, Leo immediately denied. Like I'd cheat just to win. Here, look at the chapter 1 wrote. He opened his writing app and showed her the 2 chapters he'd just written. It was real content, full of detailed descriptions, and the word count matched the one from their competition. There was no issue. After reading it, Julianne's doubts were erased, but a new question arose. Why are you using our real names in your book? Leo poked her on the forehead. Because this book is about you and me. I'm not writing it for anyone else, so of course I'd use our real names, dummy. All right, Julianne nodded, then tried to scroll up to see his other chapters, but Liu stopped her. Hey, don't scroll back. He was fine with her seeing the latest 2 chapters, which were about the little things in their relationship, but he couldn't let her see the earlier ones. Those chapters detailed his transmigration into the book. He'd started writing about it because he found some of his specific memories were getting fuzzy. With Logan, the only other person who knew his secret, now gone, he was afraid that one day he might forget everything. Seeing him snatch the phone back, Julianne pouted. Fine, don't show me. Stingy. Liu pocketed his phone, stretched, and said smugly, All right, since today's work is done, let's go watch the sports meet. No, she said, her lips still in a pout. I'm not in the mood. Oomph. Then, Liu thought for a moment. How about I take you to play badminton? No, she shook her head. I don't know how. I'd definitely lose to you. It's fine, I can teach you. Julianne considered it. Then you have to teach me properly. You can't make fun of me. Liu quickly agreed. Fine, I'll be a good teacher. I promise I won't make fun of you. You promise? I promise. After laying down the ground rules, Julianne finally agreed to go play badminton with him. They went to the same court on the 2nd floor of the gym where Damien had sprained his ankle that morning. This time, the area around the court was clear and the court itself was clean. There would be no accidents today. Liu patiently taught her how to serve. Once she had the hang of serving and receiving, he started hitting the shuttlecock high into the air, just like Damien had, letting it drift down slowly. It was a much friendlier way to play for a beginner. After half an hour, Julianne started to get the hang of it and was playing better and better. She was actually a quick learner. She picked things up almost instantly. Seeing that she had pretty much mastered the basics, Liu started playing for real for a few rallies. At first, Julianne struggled to return his shots, but she quickly adapted. Her rate of improvement was astonishing. During a break, they started talking and, somehow, ended up making another bet, best 2 out of 3, and the loser had to do one thing for the winner, no questions asked as long as it was reasonable and legal. And so, after the break, they stepped back onto the court, ready for a real match. Liu won the first game. He relaxed a bit in the second game, and Julianne managed to pull ahead and win. In the third and final game, both of them were giving it their all. The score was neck and neck, constantly tied. Then, Julianne had a wicked idea. As Liu was about to hit the shuttlecock, she suddenly yelled, Damien, what are you doing here? The trick worked. Liu immediately whipped his head around to look, but there was no one there. In that brief moment of distraction, Julianne swiftly hit the shuttlecock back over the net. Plink! The shuttlecock landed on Liu's side of the court. He stood there, stunned. He pointed his racket at her. You cheated. All's fair in love and badminton. Don't you know that? She said, sticking her tongue out playfully. Nina. If not for the net between them, Liu would have kissed her again the moment she stuck her tongue out. You picked up the shuttlecock. Don't get too excited. You haven't won yet. Don't worry, she said, shaking her head. This next point will be a loss you can't argue with. Seeing her smug expression, Liu assumed she was going to pull the same trick again and braced himself for her to yell Damien's name. But after a few rallies, she remained silent, a mischievous smirk playing on her lips. That smirk unnerved him. He started getting distracted, trying to guess what she was planning. And because he was distracted, he missed her next shot. See? You cheated again, he accused. Excuse me? You're the one who missed the shot. How is that my fault? She said, looking at him with an expression of pure, wounded innocence. I didn't even say anything this time. Then why were you smiling like that? That weird smile totally threw me off. So now my smiling affects you? She asked, her lip trembling pitifully. Fine then. I just won't smile at you anymore. That's... Liu was at a loss for words. After a few seconds, he finally managed. That's not what I meant at all. Your smile was creepy, okay? You're just a sore loser, trying to find excuses, she sighed dramatically. You just can't stand losing, can you? Bullshit. His face flushed with anger. Who says I can't stand losing? I lost, so I lost. Fine. What do you want me to do? So you admit defeat? The moment he conceded, her pout transformed back into a triumphant grin. Seeing the change in her expression, Liu froze. He finally realized he had walked right in her trap. If they had argued a bit more, they might have played another point, and he might have even made a comeback. But she had goaded him, and he had taken the bait. He'd been had. Julianne stated her demand. The bet about me washing your feet is canceled. Instead, you have to wash my feet tonight. That's it. Nope. Canceling the old bet and washing your feet are 2 separate things, Liu countered, having learned to be nitpicky himself. He grinned. I can only agree to one thing. You. Julianne thought for a moment. Fine. I want you to wash my feet. No problem, Liu said with a smile. But you have to wash my feet first. Why do you get to go first? Because my bet with you came first, and your bet with me came second. First come, first served. You have an answer for everything. Not as many as you have tricks up your sleeve. Nina. Leo tilted his head, a wicked smile on his face. You stick that tongue out again, and I'll kiss you again. Don't test me. Julianne immediately backed away to the other side of the net. Then she shouted defiantly, "Come and get me. Nina. Don't you run," Leo yelled, taking off after her. "Only a fool wouldn't run," she yelled back, turning and bolting. And so they left the gym, chasing each other in a fit of playful laughter. After dinner at the cafeteria, Leo and Julianne walked toward the two-person dorm building. Not far from the entrance, Julianne suddenly squatted down, unable to walk any further. "What's wrong? Legs hurt?" Leo asked. Julianne massaged her thighs and calves, where the muscles were aching from the afternoon's exercise. "My legs are so sore." Leo gently rubbed her calves through her pants. "That's normal. You don't usually work out that intensely, and you were going all out in badminton this afternoon. You probably have a slight muscle strain." Sitting down to eat gave them a rest, so now that you're up and walking again, they're bound to feel sore. "Do you think?" She looked up at him. "I'll be able to walk tomorrow." Leo shook his head. "They'll probably be really sore, but it shouldn't be so bad you can't walk. It's not like you sprained your ankle like Sterling." "Oh," she said. "Anyway, it's still the sports meet tomorrow," Leo continued. "If you can't walk, you can just stay in the dorm and sleep all day." "No way," she shook her head. "Someone has a competition tomorrow. How could I sleep in the dorm? I don't care if my legs are sore. Even if they were broken, I'd still go." Leo was touched. He was about to say, "Babe, you're so good to me," but her next sentence made him swallow the words. "I have to be there to record a high-definition video of you making a fool of yourself. Then I'm going to make it my wallpaper. Ha 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 ha." "Thank you. You're a living saint," Leo said, his face a mask of deadpan exhaustion as he watched her roar with laughter. Seeing her squatting on the ground, unable to move, Leo stood up, turned his back to her, and squatted down again. "Get on." "What? What are you doing? What does it look like?" "I'm carrying you back." "Here? In public? You're going to carry me." Just saying the words made Julianne's face flush. "You're my girlfriend. Me carrying you is perfectly reasonable. It's not like I'm carrying someone else's wife. What's the problem?" I'm too shy." "Someone wasn't saying she was shy when she was kissing me in the car," Leo shot back, glancing over his shoulder. "No more excuses. Get on." "Fine," Julianne grumbled, climbing onto his back. She gave his shoulder a light punch. "Don't be so bossy." "I'm not being bossy. I just raised my voice a little." The moment she leaned against him, Leo felt a distinct softness against his back. No, two distinct softnesses. Julianne might have been tall and slender, but she was surprisingly well endowed. She was thin where she should be, and had curves where she should. And how did Leo know? After their night together on Christmas Eve, he was quite familiar. He wrapped his hands under her thighs to support her. Her body tensed for a second, but she didn't react much. Her legs were smooth and slim, and even through her pants, Leo could feel the softness of her skin. It was like a brand new cotton sheet in winter, light and plush, making him want to give them a little squeeze. But he didn't dare. They were in public, after all, and he was afraid she might suddenly scream, "Leo Miller, are you a pervert?" Then again, was it really being a pervert if you were doing it to your own girlfriend? Julianne's hands weren't behaving either. They had been wrapped around his neck, but they accidentally brushed against his firm chest. Then, like a mischievous little snake, one of her hands snaked inside his jacket and started exploring. It was a shame her arm wasn't longer, or she might have been able to feel his abs. At first, Leo was lost in thought and didn't notice, but as her hand grew bolder, he quickly caught on. Hey, are you some kind of hussy? I'm nice enough to carry you, and you're secretly copping a feel." Julianne fired back with the exact question he had just been thinking. Is it really harassment if I'm doing it to my own boyfriend? Was this what they called being on the same wavelength? Leo didn't know, but if she was going to touch him, he had to retaliate. It was only fair. With that thought, he gave her thighs a firm squeeze with both hands. "Hey, that tickles." "Huh?" Julianne squirmed on his back. "Stop it, don't pinch my thighs." "Then you have to stop groping my chest," he threatened. "Otherwise, I'll keep pinching you." Okay, I'll stop. Ha ha. After that, Julianne behaved herself. They finally made it back to the dorm. Saraphina's shoes were gone, so she must have gone out. Damien was probably asleep in his room. They could hear faint snores. After carrying Julianne all the way back, Leo collapsed onto the couch. "So tired," he murmured. Julianne narrowed her eyes. "Are you implying that I'm fat?" "No, absolutely not." Leo shook his head vigorously. I'm just out of shape and can't carry you. But you're not fat at all. Phew, that's good, she said, relieved. After a moment, Leo pointed at her. You, go get me a basin of water for my feet. It's so early. You want to wash your feet already? She asked, looking at him bewildered. What? Is there a problem? Leo crossed his legs. It's not every day I get the royal treatment. I want to enjoy it as soon as possible. Fine, Julian said through gritted teeth. Might as well get it over with. After I'm done with you, it's your turn to wash mine. Oomph. She turned and marched into the bathroom. After she disappeared, Leo muttered to himself, you washing my feet, me washing your feet. Isn't it all a reward for me? And there it was, confirmation that Leo Miller was, in fact, a total creep about feet. Which one is your foot basin? Julianne called from the bathroom. I don't have one, Leo called back. Just wash out that blue basin. The school gave it to us. I haven't used it yet. Okay, she replied. A moment later, he heard the sound of running water. Soon, she emerged from the bathroom carrying a basin half full of steaming water. Julianne set the basin on the floor. There. Wash. ? Leo looked at her, confused. And then? What, and then? She asked, pointing at the basin. Wash them. No, if you're washing my feet, shouldn't you? Leo waved his hands, demonstrating how one was supposed to wash someone else's feet. Fine, fine, she nodded, bending down to take off his socks. Ugh. The moment his foot was out of his slipper, Julianne pretended to be overwhelmed by the smell. Your feet stink. That's ridiculous, he retorted. I just changed my socks, my sneakers are brand new, and I barely even sweat today. Even if there was a smell, there's no way it's as bad as you're making it out to be. Okay, I was faking it, she admitted with a mischievous smile. After taking off his socks, she shoved his feet directly into the hot water. Yowza! The heat sent a jolt through Leo's entire body, and he let out a sharp cry. Is it that hot? Julian asked. Is it not that hot? She tested the water with her hand. It seems fine. The water I use for foot soaks is usually hotter than this. People are different, Leo said, raising a hand. Go on, add some cold water. Why add cold water? This temperature is perfect for soaking. With that, she grabbed both of his feet and plunged them into the basin. Ah, you're trying to kill me, Leo shrieked as he was being scalded, while Julianne just cackled, a wide grin on her face. I heard that people whose feet are sensitive to heat have weaker constitutions, she said slyly. Who said that? Leo gritted his teeth. I'm not afraid of the heat. This temperature for me is just average. Not hot at all. He then furiously rubbed his face with his hands, as if trying to hide the fact that his expression was completely out of control. Seeing his face and his tough guy act, Julianne smirked triumphantly. So, is this temperature to your liking, my lord? MHM. Leo forced 4 words through his clenched teeth. It is absolutely perfect. Their conversation was overheard by Damien, who had just emerged from his room. He looked at the two of them, completely baffled. Is this part of your foreplay? Leo's earlier shriek had woken Damien up. Thinking something terrible had happened, he had scrambled out of bed on his crutches, only to be met with this scene. Leo covered his face, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. Sterling, let me explain. No, it's fine, I get it. Damien waved a hand dismissively. You two carry on. I didn't see anything. With that, he hobbled back to his room as fast as his crutches would carry him and shut the door. Leo buried his face in his hands, mortified. Julianne wasn't faring much better. She couldn't even bring herself to look at Damien. A moment later, Leo's phone buzzed with a new message. Damien, not bad, Miller. Got your girlfriend washing your feet for you. Your status in this relationship is top tier. Leo, Sterling, it's not what it looks like. We made a bet this afternoon, and she lost. That's why she's doing this. Damien, no need to explain. I get it. My lips are sealed. Leo's vision went dark as he read the message. He didn't get it at all. The idiot had completely misunderstood. Leo had a fair amount of leg hair, and as Julianne washed his feet, she couldn't resist the urge to play with it. She'd gather a small tuft between her fingers and twist it into a little rope. It was a strangely satisfying and stress-relieving sensation, though if she twisted too hard, she'd easily pull the hairs out. Like right now. Julian giggled sheepishly. Sorry about that. Leo sighed, half amused, half exasperated. Can you just wash my feet and stop plucking my leg hair? All right, I get it. After Julianne was done, it was his turn to serve her. She dumped the basin of water in the toilet, came out, plopped down on the couch, and declared, All right, Leo Miller, you're now Jeeves. Jeeves, go fetch me my foot bath. Why does that sound like a butler's name? Leo said with a look of disdain. Julianne propped her chin on her hand, resting her elbow on the arm of the sofa. Because it is he. Oh, go to hell, he said, rolling his eyes before heading into the bathroom. Make sure you wash the basin properly. I don't want to catch your athlete's foot, she called after him. I don't have athlete's foot, came his indignant reply from the bathroom. To get his revenge, Leo cranked the water heater to its maximum setting and filled a large basin with steaming hot water. You wanted to mess with me, huh? He thought to himself. Now it's my turn. Mwahaha. Julianne was wearing a pair of white cotton socks with cute cat paws on the ankles. They looked new because the bottoms were still pristine white. But Leo was mistaken. They weren't new. Julianne was just very good at keeping her socks clean. Leo had read online that girls' feet didn't smell bad, but they could have a sour scent. Looking at Julianne's rosy white feet, he couldn't imagine them smelling sour at all. He wasn't about to get close enough to sniff them, and he certainly wasn't going to sniff the sock he'd just taken off. So, after removing it, he surreptitiously sniffed his own fingers. Nope, no sour smell. The internet had lied to him. Though he thought he was being stealthy, Julianne saw the whole thing. She looked at him with a strange expression. You don't have some kind of weird fetish, do you? Nonsense. Bullshit. I do not. Then why were you sniffing your fingers? I heard that girls' feet smell sour. Leo trailed off, too embarrassed to continue. His entire face was bright red. Seeing his goofy expression, Julianne couldn't resist teasing him. Well, why don't you have a taste and see for yourself? She said, lifting her foot slightly. Leo's eyes widened. Is that appropriate? Her eyes widened in mock shock. You actually want to eat my foot? She gently tapped his chest with her clean foot. You're a total pervert. I was kidding. All right, put your foot down. As Leo pushed Julianne's feet into the water, he imagined her yelping and squirming just like he had. But nothing happened. Julianne accepted the water temperature with a completely calm expression. Leo looked at her, his head full of question marks. Is this water not hot? Nope, she said, shaking her head. Isn't this temperature just right? No, but this. Really, it feels fine to me. Not hot at all. Why don't you try it? That's impossible, he almost blurted out. I turned the water heater up to the max. How did that not scald you? Unconvinced, Leo took off his left slipper and gently dipped his big toe into the basin. After testing the water, his eyes widened. What the hell? It's clearly this hot. How are you not reacting at all? It's really not that hot. Here, try again, Julianne said, pointing at the water. Leo once again dipped his toe in. The next second, Julianne's feet shot out from under the water, clamped around his ankle, and dragged his entire foot into the basin. Yowza! Hot, hot, hot! Leo yanked his foot out of the water so fast that if he hadn't been barefoot on the floor to steady himself, he would have tumbled over backward. Ha 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 ha! Seeing him flail about, Julianne clutched her stomach, laughing so hard that tears streamed down her face. Leo put his slipper back on and pointed at her. You think you're so clever, don't you? He said, rolling up his sleeves. Seeing his posture, Julianne asked nervously, What are you doing? Washing your feet, of course. With that, he plunged his hands into the water, grabbed her feet, and started tickling them. Ha ha! Stop tickling me. Ha ha! Leo Miller, you big jerk. Ha ha! After a while, Julianne was exhausted from laughing, and Leo was tired of tickling. They finally stopped their antics. Leo started massaging her feet, working his way from the soles to her ankles and then up to her calves. The girl's calves were smooth and delicate, like freshly made tofu, supple and tender, as if they would release water with the slightest squeeze. He gently kneaded her calf muscles. My lady, is this pressure okay? Not bad, just like that. Yes, right there it's so sore a little more. You got it. His large hands easily enveloped her slender calves. Julianne could clearly feel his fingertips gliding, kneading, and pressing in her skin, and an indescribable feeling bloomed within her. It was intimate and deeply satisfying. A soft hum escaped her lips. Don't make that noise, Leo said, a little embarrassed. Why? Does my humming make you think impure thoughts? She asked with a wicked grin. When they were alone, she was like a shameless little wolf, never shy. Well, almost never. She still got a little bashful when they were completely bare with each other. Leo's face turned bright red, but he forced himself to say, Nonsense. I'm not. Ha ha ha. Julianne cackled at his blushing face. She loved teasing him. Seeing him get flustered was the most amusing thing in the world. Click. At that moment, Saraphina suddenly opened the dorm door and walked in, carrying 2 takeout containers. She froze, taking in the scene in the living room. History always repeats itself. Julianne's face flushed. Saraphina, let me explain. It's fine. No need to explain. I didn't see anything. You two carry on, Seraphina said, hiding her face behind the food containers as she scurried into Damien's room. Julianne's blush spread all the way to her collarbone. Leo was looking down at the floor, not daring to lift his head. It was too mortifying. A moment after Seraphina went into the room, Julianne's phone buzzed. Strange, why also? Seraphina. Girl, how did you convince Leo to wash your feet? Julianne. Seraphina. Listen, we were just messing around. He just washed my feet and I... Seraphina. No need to explain. I get it. Reading the message, Julianne's vision went dark. She and Leo could already picture Damien and Seraphina huddled under the covers in the next room, stifling their laughter as they gossiped about them. After he finished washing her feet, a thought suddenly struck Leo. Wait a minute, I got ripped off. You didn't even massage my legs. Julianne had spent less than 10 minutes washing his feet, but he had spent nearly 30 on hers because he'd thrown in a leg massage. That's not my fault, she said, shrugging shamelessly. You didn't ask for a massage. You missed your chance. Besides, you got to touch my legs while you were massaging them, so you didn't lose out at all. You won either way. Leo scratched his head, completely baffled. How am I supposed to massage your legs without touching them? So you admit you touch my legs, right? No, I mean, so you touch my legs, which means you took advantage of me. Therefore, you didn't lose. That kind of makes sense. Not. Leo shook his head. That's just twisted logic. You touched my legs too, and you pulled out my leg hair. You owe me dead leg hair compensation. You're insane. Julianne laughed for a long time before she could ask, what part of your brain came up with dead leg hair compensation? Leo crossed his arms, feigning anger. I don't care. You have to give me a massage too. Oh, all right, Julianne said, patting his head. I'll give you a massage. Come on, to the bedroom. Leo asked, confused. Why do we have to go to the bedroom for a massage? You asked too many questions, she said, giving his but a playful kick. Once they were in the room, Julianne pointed to the bed. Lie down. What for? To give you a massage, obviously. Half convinced, Leo lay down on the bed. Julianne looked at his clueless expression and couldn't help but laugh. Lie on your stomach, dummy. Leo blushed. You could have just said that. You're the dummy. After he was lying face down, Julianne took off her shoes and clambered onto the bed. After Julianne climbed onto the bed, Leo felt a soft pressure on his thighs. But it wasn't her hands. What are you pressing on my thighs with? He asked, turning his head to look behind him. Julianne was standing on his thighs with one foot. The image immediately reminded him of the student-athletes at his high school. They would study in the morning and train in the afternoon. After practice, they would pair up and walk on each other's legs to relax their muscles and relieve fatigue. But those guys always did it with their shoes on. The smell of sweaty feet after a workout was enough to knock someone out. Who would dare take off their shoes to walk on someone's back unless it was an act of pure revenge? But Julianne was barefoot, and her small, delicate feet on his body were infinitely more pleasant than being walked on by some big dude. A beautiful woman walking on his back. That wasn't a punishment, it was a reward. Still, Leo had to feign disgust. I thought you were going to give me a massage. Why are you stepping on me? Your thighs are so muscular. It would be exhausting to use my hands, and I probably wouldn't be able to apply enough pressure anyway, she explained, using her heel to press down and rotate in a clockwise motion. Knowing he was being stepped on by her feet stirred a strange and wonderful feeling inside him. It was a little embarrassing, but it felt amazing, not just physically but emotionally too. No wonder so many people went to spas for massages where beautiful women walked on their backs. He never knew it could feel this good. The thought startled him. He began to suspect he might have some strange, hidden fetish. After a moment, Julianne said, I'm going to use both feet now, okay? Don't move. Yeah, fine. Will it be too heavy if I stand on both your legs? She asked. Not at all. My baby isn't heavy at all. Go ahead and stand on me. Julianne was tiny, maybe 90 pounds at most, so even her full weight on him didn't feel uncomfortable. Although Leo's tone was serious, she couldn't help but feel like his words were a little suggestive. And being alone in a room, with her standing on his thighs, while Damien and Seraphina were right across the hall, it felt a little thrilling. Leo had spent the afternoon playing badminton with her, and then carried her all the way from the cafeteria back to the dorm. While he wasn't as sore as she was, his muscles were still tight. Her gentle weight helped to soothe the tension, and a soft, contented hum escaped his lips. Hearing his hum, Julianne blushed. You're not getting off on this, are you? Nonsense, he immediately retorted. I don't have that kind of weird fetish. Hey, okay, you don't. Just don't move. I'm about to lose my balance. Leo's legs were hairy, and Julianne, being barefoot, found the sensation ticklish. Every time she shifted her feet, she couldn't help but giggle. Why is your leg hair so long? She asked between laughs. Ha ha, but don't even trim it, huh? I'm a guy. A little leg hair is normal, okay? It's manly. Why would I trim it? It's too long. It's making my feet ticklish. Next time, you can wear socks, he said with a grin. I prefer black stockings, thank you, my goddess. You think there's going to be a next time? Dream on. She lifted her foot and stepped on the small of his back. You want me to wear stockings and walk on you? In your dreams. Leo ignored her retort and pointed to the spot she just stepped on. Yes, yes, right there. Step there a few more times. My back is sore, and that feels really good. Seeing him play dumb, Julianne felt the familiar helplessness of trying to reason with a pervert. Go to hell, you big perv, she said, her face flushing. She jumped off him, refusing to give him a massage any longer. Leo's backwalking fantasy was shattered. He sighed dramatically. Oh, how tragic. Other guys' girlfriends walk on their backs, but you only walk on my legs, and for less than 10 minutes. I'm so hurt. Oh, shut up. Julianne kicked his face with her foot. The foot, still warm from the hot water, was soft and had no odor. It was like a warm, fragrant little cake. Smells nice, Leo said with a smile. EW, Julianne recoiled, covering her feet with her hands and looking at him with disgust. You really do have a weird fetish. I caught you. Leo waved his hand dismissively. First of all, I'm not a foot fetishist. Second, they're my girlfriend's feet. What's wrong with me liking them? That's still a foot fetish, she insisted. She was about to kick him again, but stopped, afraid he might enjoy it. Instead, she balled her fists and gave his back a firm punch. The blow landed on his solid back with barely a thud. Leo let out another satisfied hum. Thanks for the massage. Go away. What's the difference between being walked on and getting a massage with hands? Anyway, she asked curiously. I wouldn't know. You only walked on my legs, he said, deliberately trying to bait her. Why don't you walk on my back so I can find out, and then I'll tell you. She rolled her eyes. The sound of your abacus is about to hit me in the face. Leo chuckled. Then how about I walk on your back? You can feel the difference for yourself. No way, she said, shaking her head immediately. Your feet are huge. One step on me, and I'd be crushed. Leo shrugged. All right, suit yourself. So, she asked, did it feel good when I walked on your legs? Very good, he nodded with satisfaction. So, are you ready to walk on my back now? Impossible. Don't even think about it. Julianne had originally planned it as a joke, a way to tease him. She never imagined that he had such a strange quirk, and that instead of punishing him, she had only given him pleasure. Damn it, she thought. This feels like punching a pillow. So unsatisfying. Leo was sprawled lazily on the bed, propping his chin on his hand as he watched Julianne sitting beside him. He tilted his head. You know, you could just not go back to your dorm tonight. You could stay here. No, that's not a good idea, Julianne said, shaking her head quickly. The walls in these dorms are paper thin. Who said anything about doing that? Leo's face flushed. I meant just sleeping. Like actually sleeping. Not the other thing. What's going through that head of yours? And you have the nerve to call me a pervert. Julianne's cheeks turned a matching shade of crimson. Well, you weren't exactly clear. Why is that my fault? Okay, my fault. Leo conceded, not wanting to argue. He tried again. So, are you going to sleep here with me tonight? No. Julianne shook her head again. I'm really picky about beds. I can't sleep in a strange place. Is that so? Leo narrowed his eyes playfully. Someone I know slept like a log on Christmas Eve. Shut up. Julianne shot back, her voice a flustered pout. We barely slept at all on Christmas Eve, you liar. We only crashed for a few hours the next morning because we were exhausted, and you were snoring so loud it woke me up. Now, it was Leo's turn to feel a little embarrassed, but he still defended himself. I worked hard all night. A little snoring is perfectly reasonable, don't you think? You're just full of excuses, Julianne said, giving his shoulder a light punch. I'm going back to my dorm to sleep. I'm walking back with Saraphina later. Just as the words left her mouth, her phone buzzed. It was a message from Saraphina Rose. Saraphina, hey Jules, I don't think I'm coming back to the dorm tonight. Damien's leg is hurting him pretty badly. He can barely get out of bed. I'm just going to stay here and keep an eye on him. Julianne's eyes went wide. She was a little shocked. She'd always thought of Saraphina as a very prim and proper girl, raised in a conservative household. The idea of her voluntarily staying the night with Damien was unexpected. Julianne, where are you going to sleep? Saraphina, that recliner he had someone bring over this afternoon folds out flat. I'll just make do on that for the night. Julianne, you're really not coming back. Saraphina, yeah. Julianne, okay then. After reading Saraphina's messages, Julianne cleared her throat and reluctantly changed her tune. Well, since Saraphina isn't going back to the dorm tonight, and I really don't want to go back and deal with those other two roommates of ours. I guess I can just make do here for one night. This time, it was Leo's turn to refuse. He grinned. You know, maybe you should go back. You're picky about beds, remember? I'm worried you won't be able to sleep. Besides, I kick the blankets off at night. I wouldn't want to kick you. Huh, trying to get a rise out of me. Are you? That's not going to work, Julianne said, pulling back the covers and slipping into the bed with a single smooth motion, claiming a generous portion of the mattress. You just lie down that brazenly? I'm sleeping in my boyfriend's bed. Perfectly reasonable, right? She said, patting the mattress. This is way softer than our bunk beds. Well, if you like this bed so much, maybe you should just move in with me, Leo said, sliding in beside her. No way, Julianne replied, half joking. I'm not trying to get knocked up at my age. Leo didn't know whether to laugh or cry. You make it sound like I'm some kind of monster. You're not, Julianne said with a sly grin, but I am. Hiv. With that, she flipped the script, wrapping her arms around his waist and pulling him close. Hey, you shameless hussy. Keep your hands to yourself, Leo yelped. The sheets were cool in the winter air, but Leo's body was a furnace, a giant human space heater. Julianne clung to him like an octopus, her two small, icy hands exploring his broad, solid shoulders. Her long, smooth legs were just as restless, wrapping around his thighs. The moment her colder-than-ice feet touched his leg, a shiver ran through him. Weren't your feet just warm? Leo asked. How'd they get so cold all of a sudden? It happens when I'm talking to you, she said, and your body temperature is way higher than mine. Leo was finally beginning to understand why girls like their baths so much hotter than guys did. Their hands and feet really did get cold easily. Was this what people meant by poor circulation? He feigned annoyance. You're an ice cube. Get away from me. You're sucking all my body heat out. I'm your girlfriend. Warming up your girlfriend's hands and feet is perfectly reasonable, isn't it? No. All my warmth is going to you. What about me? Stingy, Julianne muttered, but she had no intention of letting go. Instead, she squeezed him even tighter. Leo didn't push her away. He let her hold him, secretly loving it, even as he put on a show of reluctance. Perhaps she was tired. Cuddled up against Leo, Julianne quickly fell asleep. Her tight embrace loosened, and she curled into a small ball, her head nestled in the crook of his chest like a little cat seeking security. Every now and then, a soft, purring sound, a little gurr, would escape her lips. It was impossibly cute. If anyone were to ask when a girl was at her most adorable, it would have to be when she was asleep. Before bed, she might talk your ear off. After waking, she might be grumpy. But while she slept, silent and peaceful, that was when a girl was at her peak cuteness. Leo leaned down and pressed a gentle kiss to her forehead, then switched off the bedside lamp. Good night, my love. Meanwhile, in a room across the hall, Damien had only sprained his ankle. He hadn't broken a bone. Of course he could get out of bed. If he were truly injured to the point of being bedridden, he would have called on Leo for help. Leo lived right across the hall, and being another guy, he could help in ways a girl couldn't. There would be no need for his girlfriend to stay over. Besides, he'd managed to get up and walk to the living room on his own when he heard a noise earlier. How bad could it be? All the evidence pointed to one thing. He was faking. His reason was simple. He just wanted Saraphina to stay with him a little longer. And to be honest, Saraphina wanted to stay and take care of him. But she couldn't just come out and say it. A prim and proper young woman would never be so forward as to suggest spending the night in a boy's dorm room. So, the moment Damien mentioned his leg pain, Saraphina seized the opportunity and agreed to stay. It made everything seem so much more plausible. Damien himself was a little surprised at how quickly she'd agreed. Damien scratched his head. So, you should take the bed. I'll just sleep on the recliner. Absolutely not. You're the patient. How can I let you sleep on a chair? Saraphina said, shaking her head firmly. You just rest in bed. I'll be fine on the recliner for one night. If Leo or Julianne had been there, they probably would have cut in with, why are you two arguing? Just sleep in the bed together. Compared to Leo and Julianne, who had already rounded all the bases, Damien and Saraphina's relationship was still in its fledgling stages. Holding hands or a quick peck on the lips still made them blush. Sleeping together was out of the question. Their progress was slow, mainly because their relationship had been too smooth without any of the drama or turmoil that had constantly pushed Leo and Julianne closer. They hadn't broken through that final wall of shyness yet. Fortunately, while Damien could be a bit dense, he wasn't a complete idiot. He picked up a few tricks from watching Leo. Seeing that Saraphina was firm about the recliner, Damien immediately grabbed his ankle and let out a pained cry. Hiss. What is it? Saraphina, who just sat down, jumped up and rushed to his bedside. Is your foot hurting again? Yeah, it's really bad. Hiss. Damien said, his face contorted in a pained grimace. Saraphina, could you sit on the edge of the bed and press right here for me? I feel like it doesn't hurt as much when there's pressure on it. Seeing how much pain he seemed to be in, Saraphina hesitated for a few seconds. Will that really help? Maybe I should take you to the hospital. No, don't. I can handle it, Damien said, shaking his head. The campus clinic said I just need a few days of rest. It shouldn't be that serious. And it's so late, it's a hassle to go to the hospital. Just press on it for me. I'll feel better in a bit. Well, okay. The innocent Saraphina didn't see anything wrong with his request. She sat on the edge of his bed, her hand pressing gently on his injured foot. After a while, her arm started to get sore, so she switched hands. Damien immediately seized the opportunity. Your back is going to get sore sitting in that position. It's bad for your spine. Why don't you just take off your shoes and sit up here? He pointed to the empty half of the bed. Saraphina was finally starting to sense something was up. It's okay, she said, shaking her head. I'll just switch hands again in a minute. Come on, it's fine. Just take your shoes off and get on the bed, Damien insisted, giving her arm a gentle tug. Though she suspected he was up to something, Saraphina did as he asked and climbed onto the bed. The moment she was settled, Damien pulled the covers over her and smiled. You sleep here. When you fall asleep, I'll go sleep in the recliner. So you were tricking me, Saraphina said, giving him a light tap on the chest. Damien grinned. If I didn't say that, was I supposed to just watch you sleep in a chair all night? So, are you really going to sleep in the chair? Well, if I don't sleep in the chair, I can't exactly sleep with you, can I? Saraphina pulled the blanket up to cover the lower half of her face, leaving only her wide eyes visible. In a tiny voice, she whispered, Why can't you? What did you say? Her voice was so quiet, Damien hadn't heard her. Being asked to repeat herself made Saraphina even more flustered. She blurted out, much louder this time, I'm your fiancé. What's wrong with us sleeping together? As soon as the words were out, she buried her entire face under the covers, the picture of girlish shyness. Damien's face turned bright red. He never expected Saraphina to agree to sleep with him so easily. What does this teach us? It teaches us that if someone is into you, you don't need a lot of tricks. Even if they know you're up to something, they'll play along. Conversely, if someone isn't into you, well, let's not get into that. So, Damien's misfortune had turned into a blessing. He'd sprained his ankle and twisted his neck, but his relationship with his girlfriend had taken a huge leap forward, even if all they did that night was hold each other and sleep. The next morning, Leo woke up early. Julianne was still curled up in his arms like a little cat. The soft morning sunlight streamed like golden threads through the gaps in the curtains, gently landing on her cheeks. She slept peacefully, her curved eyelashes like the delicate wings of a butterfly, fluttering slightly with her even breaths. In the dawn light, she looked exquisite, like a living, breathing work of art. You couldn't help but want to stare at her, to admire her beautiful, sleeping face. Leo couldn't resist. Just like last night, he leaned down and pressed a light kiss to her forehead. His movements were incredibly gentle, as if he were afraid of waking her. After the kiss, the girl's eyelashes fluttered, as if she were about to wake up. Seeing this, Leo immediately squeezed his eyes shut and pretended to be asleep. He waited a moment, then felt the girl in his arms stir. She let out a soft hum and shifted her curled-up body. Julianne had slept wonderfully. It was the best quality sleep she'd had in a long time. In the girls' dorm, she usually woke up 2 or 3 times a night. Last night, she hadn't woken up once, sleeping straight through until morning. And having Leo, her personal space heater, constantly radiating warmth beside her was better than any air conditioner. She felt toasty and comfortable from head to toe. Opening her eyes, the first thing Julianne saw was Leo. A smile crept onto her lips as she watched him sleep. It wasn't just her body that felt warm. Her heart was too. A warm current flowed through her, and the parts of her body held by Leo felt tingly and weak. She felt like a snowflake about to melt. This was pure bliss. Unlike Leo, who moved with caution, a newly awakened Julianne had no such reservations. She reached out and poked his cheek a couple of times. Then she pinched his nose. Finally, she used her fingers to squeeze his lips together, puckering them out, as if determined to wake him. Seeing Leo with a goofy-looking pout, Julianne let out a small giggle. She propped herself up and planted a kiss right on his pouted lips. The recipient of the kiss decided to stop faking. He wrapped his arms around her waist. Why are you so mischievous? So you were awake this whole time. You liar. Julianne said, planting another kiss on his mouth. What was that one for? That's your punishment for pretending to be asleep. In that case, can I have a little more punishment? In your dreams, Julianne said, before leaning in and giving his lip a gentle nibble. Ow, are you a puppy? Why are you biting people? I'll bite you to death. After roughhousing in bed for a while, they finally got up to go wash up in the bathroom. The moment Leo and Julianne opened their door, they came face to face with Saraphina from across the hall. She had also just woken up and was on her way to the bathroom. Her own door was open, and Damien could be seen sitting on his bed, leaning lazily against the headboard, turning his head to see what the commotion was about. The four of them froze. An awkward silence fell over the hallway as they stared at each other, unsure of what to say. Saraphina was the first to break the silence. Jules, you didn't go back to the dorm last night either? Yeah. Julian nodded, her hands nervously twisting the hem of Leo's sleeve. You didn't go back, and I didn't really want to go back either. I get annoyed just looking at Stacy and Zoe. Oh, right. Saraphina nodded in understanding. After a few more awkward exchanges, Julian asked, were you going to use the bathroom? No, you go first, Saraphina said, waving her hands. I don't really have to go. Julianne thought for a second. Okay then, I'll call you when I'm done. Sure. Saraphina nodded, then quickly retreated into Damien's room and shut the door. Leo and Julianne looked at each other and simultaneously broke into a suppressed smile. Then, they went in the bathroom together. Leo found a new toothbrush and towel for Julianne in the cabinet under the sink. They were spares he had lying around, and he was glad he'd kept them. He ran the toothbrush under hot water to soften the bristles, squeezed some toothpaste onto it, and handed it to her. Julianne watched him, a playful look in her eye. Why don't you just brush my teeth for me while you're at it? Leo grinned. Sure. Come on, open up. Get out of here, Julianne said, lightly slapping his shoulder as she took the toothbrush. I'm not a little kid. Why are you even squeezing the toothpaste for me? It shows that I'm good to you, Leo said as he squeezed toothpaste onto his own brush. That I'm spoiling you. I'm already so spoiled by you I think I'm getting dumber, she mumbled, then rinsed her mouth and started brushing. White foam quickly filled her mouth and spilled out, covering her lips. As Leo brushed his own teeth, he couldn't help but glance over at her. Seeing her with a mouthful of toothpaste foam, for some reason, made him want to laugh. He wanted to laugh because he realized how wonderful this morning was. Waking up to see the person you love, going to the bathroom to get ready together, eating your favorite breakfast together, going to class or work together, and after a long day, coming home to cook, taking a walk after dinner, and falling asleep in each other's arms. It all sounded so ordinary, like trivial little moments in life. But the thought of experiencing it all with Julianne filled his heart with something beautiful and satisfying. A warmth spread through his limbs. A simple, peaceful life was truly a wonderful thing. Julianne noticed his gaze and looked back at him, seeing him with his own mouth full of foam, his eyes a little hazy, as if he weren't fully awake. She couldn't hold it in. She burst out laughing. What are you laughing at? Leo asked. Instead of answering, Julianne countered. What are you laughing at? I was just thinking of something happy, Leo said. Me too, she replied. I was thinking of something happy too. After they finished, Leo went back to his room to change into his sweats. He had the 3,000-meter race later that morning. Julianne lingered in the bathroom for a bit before going to get Saraphina. Once Saraphina was ready, she dragged Julianne off to the cafeteria to get breakfast, leaving Leo behind to keep Damien company. Leo walked into Damien's room and, without any ceremony, plopped down into the luxurious leather recliner Damien had ordered the day before. He looked at Damien with a mischievous grin, making Damien's skin crawl. Miller, why are you looking at me like that? Damien finally asked. So, you and Saraphina spent the night together? Yeah, Damien nodded. My leg was hurting, so she stayed in my room to be with me. Oh, cut the crap, Leo said, rolling his eyes. That little act of yours might work on a sweet, innocent girl, but you're not fooling me. You sprained your ankle, you didn't break your leg. I don't buy that you were in that much pain. Exposed, Damien's face instantly flushed red. He stammered, I wasn't exactly lying. I just want to spend more time with Saraphina. There you go. Now you're getting it. Leo slapped Damien on the shoulder. Let me tell you, when it comes to relationships, just being sincere isn't enough. You need some strategy to win a girl's heart. You've already grasped the essence of it. I bet your relationship is progressing rapidly now, huh? Damien quickly waved his hands in denial. No, we didn't do anything last night. Leo's brow furrowed. Don't tell me you actually made Saraphina sleep in that recliner all night. It wasn't like that, Damien said, shaking his head. She slept next to me. Leo nodded. Good. For a second there, I thought you were a complete idiot. Damien added, but we just lay there and slept. We didn't do anything, really. I get it. No need to explain, Leo said, his eyes narrowing into a sly, knowing grin. Your expression is so creepy, Damien said, crossing his arms over his chest as if warding off a predator. Get lost, Leo shot back with a roll of his eyes. So, Damien asked, Julianne was with you last night too? Yeah, Leo nodded. What about it? Damien waved his hands. Nothing. Just asking. The two girls soon returned with breakfast. After Leo and Julianne finished eating, they left the dorm together, giving Damen and Saraphina more space to be alone. After lining up on the field to get his race bib, Leo didn't go to the waiting area. Instead, he walked up into the stands to sit with Julianne. Your race is in a little bit, isn't it? She asked, looking at him with confusion. Why are you up here? I'm in the third heat. It's still a while away, Leo said, sitting down next to her and wrapping an arm around her shoulder. I was afraid you'd be bored waiting up here all by yourself, so I came to keep you company. Julianne tilted her head to look at him. Are you nervous? The race is about to start. It's impossible not to be a little nervous, Leo admitted, meeting her eyes with a slight smile. But I'm not that nervous. I don't really care about my ranking. Someone I know was bragging about how he was going to win the championship at the sports meet and then kiss me in front of the whole school, Julianne said, raising an eyebrow with a wicked grin. Why are you suddenly saying you don't care about your rank? Don't tell me you're chickening out. Who's chickening out? Leo's face felt hot, but he brazenly continued. I'm not scared. You just wait and see. I guarantee I'll win. And then I'm going to kiss you senseless. Keep dreaming, Julianne said, giving him a sidelong glance. Leo pinched her cheek. You little rascal, you still don't believe me. The fastest time for the first heat of the men's race was 15 minutes. On a 3,000-meter course that wasn't just slow, it was barely above a jog. It wouldn't even meet the minimum passing standard for a fitness test. Leo's personal best was under 13 minutes. After watching the first heat, he was stunned. This was the competition? Was it some kind of joke? Or were there just no serious runners in the first group? The second heat started soon after. The pace was about the same as the first. No standout runners. The winner also finished in 15 minutes. It was then that Leo had a crucial realization. How could a bunch of nameless background characters in a novel possibly beat the male protagonist? Leo had originally written this sports meet scene into his novel for Damien to show off. Although he never specified Damien's exact time, he had written that Damien took first place. Logically, Damien's running speed had to be faster than any of the extras in the book, which meant, as long as Leo ran faster than Damien, he could take first place. The thought made his eyes light up. He immediately pulled out his phone and sent a message to Damien. Leo, Sterling, what's your 3K time? A moment later, Damien replied. Damien, I don't really know. You know, I don't usually run. Leo, air. Okay. Damien, I remember in high school, my time for the 3K fitness test was around 12.5 minutes. It was considered a good score. I haven't worked out in so long. I'm definitely not as fast as I used to be. Leo, got it. Thanks. Damien, what's up? Leo, nothing. Just wait for the good news of me winning first place. After messaging Damien, Leo confidently handed his phone to Julianne. She looked at his sudden burst of confidence, puzzled. What's with that look on your face? This is the look of confidence, Leo said. He held her face in his hands, kissed her on the forehead, and said, just wait and see me win first place. With that, he took off his jacket, handed it to Julianne, and quickly walked down from the stands toward the starting line. By the time Julianne snapped out of her daze, Leo was already on the track, warming up. Just as he'd guessed, there weren't many serious contenders in the race. Once the starting pistol fired, Leo gradually pulled ahead of everyone after half a lap. His month of morning runs paid off. By the fifth lap, he had already lapped the last-place runner. He was full of confidence, and his pace quickened. A week before the race, Leo had run a full-out 3K and clocked in at 12 minutes and 43 seconds. Now, all he had to do was break 12.5 minutes to secure first place. To test his theory and to make good on his bragging, Leo began an all-out sprint in the final 300 meters. His final time was 12 minutes and 25 seconds, a decisive victory over second place. And his theory was correct. In the subsequent heats, the fastest runner only managed 12 minutes and 50 seconds. No one broke the 12.5-minute mark. At the end of the men's 3,000-meter competition, Leo had firmly secured first place. The race had also taught him a valuable lesson. He could exploit bugs in the world of his novel. As long as it was within the bounds of logic, he could perfectly game the system. For now, it didn't seem like a particularly useful power, but hopefully it would come in handy later. What's wrong? Julianne asked, looking at Leo, who was sitting beside her, lost in thought. You're not happy about winning first place? It's not that, Leo said, shaking his head. I was thinking about something else. Julianne pointed to the field. Stop thinking. They're calling you to the awards ceremony. Go on. When I go up on the podium, wait for me at the bottom with my jacket. Julianne frowned. What are you planning? To fulfill my promise, of course, Leo said, hooking his finger and gently tapping the tip of her nose. He then stood up and walked toward the podium. Julianne followed close behind. Besides the medal, Ethelberg Royal Academy had prepared a 2-foot-tall plush mascot and a 500 Campus gift card for that champions. Second and third place set it get a mascot, but Haida Jet gift cards, 500 Campus gift card for the champions. Second and third place didn't get a mascot, but they did get gift cards, 500 Campus gift card for that champions. Second and third place set it get a mascot, but Haida Jet gift cards, $300 for second and $100 for third. Even students who participated but didn't win got a $10 gift card as a consolation prize. The 3-day sports meet, with over a dozen events, meant the school was giving out tens of thousands of dollars in gift cards. The message was clear. The school was loaded, the board of directors was generous, and the sports meet was all about the students having fun. After receiving his awards, the first thing Leo did was walk down to Julianne, hand her the gift card and the plush toy, and put on the jacket she held out for him. Then, in front of everyone on the field, he cupped her face in his hands and kissed her on the lips. The crowd erupted in cheers and applause, the enthusiastic atmosphere filling the entire stadium. Even though Julianne had been mentally prepared for this, hearing the cheers around her still made her blush, her cheeks turning the color of spring blossoms. A wave of emotion washed over her. Leo actually did it. He really kissed me in front of the whole school, right in front of the awards podium. He always did what he said he would. He never broke a promise. He was incredible. Clap, clap, clap. After Leo and Julianne's kiss, Ethan, Cole, and Jessica walked over applauding. Jessica was holding a huge bouquet of flowers, a colorful but slightly mismatched assortment that looked like it had been hastily assembled. Ethan, Leo said with a grin, what brings you to the Royal Academy's sports meet? I was here yesterday too. Jessica invited me, Ethan said, glancing at Jessica before turning back to Leo. The sports meet at this school is really interesting. Well, I hope you have a good time. Of course. The long-distance race this morning was very exciting, Ethan said with a smile. Leo, I didn't realize you were so athletic. You actually took first place. Leo scratched his head and smiled. Just a fluke. You're too modest, Mr. President, Jessica said, holding out the flowers. When the SGA members heard you won the 3K, they all pitched in to get you a bouquet. It was a bit last minute, so we couldn't get one custom-made. We just bought a few pre-made ones and put them together. The colors aren't great. What do you mean, not great? This colorful bouquet is beautiful. I love it, Leo said, accepting the flowers with a wide smile. It was the first time he had ever received flowers for a victory. The Oldham would never have participated in a school sports meet, and even if he had won, no one would have thought to give him flowers. Leo looked at the bouquet appreciatively. You guys shouldn't have. How much did this cost? Jessica waved her hand. It was nothing, really. Everyone just chipped in a few bucks. Besides, you sent out so many big cash gifts in the group chat yesterday. This is nothing. You can't say that. Your money is still money, Leo said. He pulled out his phone, tagged everyone in the SGA group chat, and typed, "Thank for the flowers, everyone." The soccer team also did a great job yesterday. To celebrate, I'm treating the entire SGA to hot pot for New Year's. The normally quiet group chat instantly exploded with activity. Treating dozens of people to a meal, the new SGA president was certainly generous. After Jessica finished talking, Ethan spoke up again. Leo, have you thought about what I mentioned before? Are you willing to come? Ethan was referring to his grandfather's birthday banquet. He'd mentioned it to Leo over Christmas, and Leo had said he'd think about it. Leo thought for a few seconds, then smiled. This is your second time inviting me. It would be pretty disrespectful of me not to go. Haha, not all, Ethan said with a dismissive wave. If you're busy that day, it's no problem. I'm free, Leo said, glancing at Julianne. I was just wondering if it would be okay for me to bring my girlfriend along. Of course. She's more than welcome, Ethan said eagerly. So it's a deal? It's a deal. After Jessica and Ethan left, Julianne and Leo started walking off the field. She was holding the plush mascot, and he was holding the flowers. With their hands full, it was a good opportunity to talk. What was Ethan talking about? Where are we going? Julianne asked. It's Mr. Cole's 80th birthday. He invited me to the party. His great-grandfather? No, his grandfather. How old is Ethan? How is his grandfather already 80? Mr. Cole had several daughters and then a son late in life. Ethan's father. I think he's the youngest in the family. So it makes sense that Ethan is still young. Oh, okay, Julian nodded, then asked curiously, how do you know all that? Leo was caught off guard. He paused for a second. I'm the young master of the Miller family. It's only reasonable for me to be familiar with the other prominent families in Ethelberg, right? Fair enough, Julianne said. A moment later, her eyes widened in anticipation. So, when we go to the Cole family's banquet, are you going to prepare some extravagant gift to give to Mr. Cole? Like something in a box that, when you open it, will stun everyone in the room with its rarity and value. Leo gave Julianne a speechless look. Our family has no real connection to the Coles. If Ethan hadn't invited me, I wouldn't even bother going. Why would I give him a huge gift? And why would you even think that? Because that's how it always is in those big banquets and novels, right? Julianne said, counting on her fingers. The male lead gets relentlessly put down by everyone. And then he pulls out his gift, shocks the entire audience, and slaps the faces of all the clowns who underestimated him. Leo couldn't hold it in anymore and burst out laughing. He gave Julianne a look of pity, as if to say, this girl is a lost cause. Your top priority right now should be to uninstall StoryForge. If you keep reading those brainless power fantasies, your brain is going to rot. After saying that, Leo felt a strange sense of dissonance. Wasn't he the one who used to write those kinds of billionaire romance novels? Why was he laughing at Julianne for describing the very tropes he used? The thought instantly wiped the smile off his face. Speaking of StoryForge, I think I'm going to get the full attendance bonus this month, Julianne said, turning to Leo with stars in her eyes. I wonder how much I'll make in royalties. This month's royalties won't come until the second Thursday of next month, Leo said. That's still a long time away. I know, it feels like forever, but getting paid on a Thursday is pretty good. As soon as I get the money, I can go get the Taco Tuesday special. Seeing the adorable, excited look on her face, Leo grinned from ear to ear. When they got back to their suite, the first thing that hit them was the smell of instant ramen. Saraphina and Damien were sitting at the dining table in the living room, eating. Leo and Julianne saw them and said in perfect unison, well now, Saraphina waved at them. You're back. Damien looked up and saw Leo holding the flowers with the gold medal around his neck. Miller, you really won? Yep, Leo replied, then pointed at the bowls on the table. You two are eating instant ramen for lunch. This isn't just any ordinary instant ramen. What is it, then? Some kind of Michelin star ramen. The ramen in Damien and Seraphina's bowls was, indeed, not ordinary. It was a huge bowl of instant noodles topped with a generous amount of beef, each chunk slow-cooked to a glossy, tender perfection, the aroma filling the room. Julianne stared at the bowl, which seemed to be more meat than noodles. Wow, it's rare to see a real bowl of beef ramen. So this is how rich people eat instant noodles. Seraphina held up an insulated food container. Do you want some? There's a little more in here. Leo glanced at the container. They don't sell braised beef like this on campus. Where did you get it? I had it delivered, Seraphina explained. I heard that beef helps with muscle and ligament recovery, so I had our family chefs do some and send it over. I was planning for us to eat it with rice for lunch, but he insisted on trying it with instant noodles. So here we are. Leo's eye twitched as he listened. Damien, on the other hand, was beaming. You have to admit, it's delicious this way. I've just unlocked a new way to eat ramen. Leo looked Damien up and down, noticing him casually crossing his legs. Is your foot all better? After a night of rest, it's mostly fine, Damien said, touching the neck brace he was still wearing. It's just my twisted neck that's still a bit sore. Leo gave him a sly smile. I guess that means Miss Rose will have to trouble herself to stay another night. At his words, both Seraphina and Damien turned bright red. No, it wasn't just them. Julianne was blushing, too. If Seraphina wasn't going back, then Julianne had a perfect excuse to stay another night as well. Leo and Julianne had originally planned to drop off the mascot and flowers and head to the cafeteria for lunch. But Seraphina's delivery still had plenty of delicious, home-cooked food left over, and the rice hadn't even been touched. So they decided to stay in. Leo went to take a shower and change, while Julianne, not wanting to disturb Damien and Seraphina, took a container of food into Leo's room to wait for him. After his shower, Leo walked into the room wearing nothing but a towel wrapped around his waist. He went to his closet and, only after finding his clothes, undid the towel right in front of Julianne. Julianne, sitting at the desk, covered her face with her hands. Why did you come out without any clothes on? Who said I'm not wearing anything? I've got my underwear on, Leo said as he pulled on a pair of jeans. What's there to be shy about between us? You You big pervert, Julianne said, peeking at him through a small crack between her fingers. Leo noticed her peeking and couldn't help but laugh. If I'm a pervert, what does that make you? A peeping Tom? I am not. Caught in the act, Julianne dropped her hands and stared at him openly. I am a pure and innocent maiden who has been led astray by a wicked pervert like you. Her words made Leo chuckle. Who's leading whom astray? You're the one who pounced on me this morning, and now I'm the pervert. I don't care. You're the pervert. You're the one who said it. What? What are you going to do? Julianne clutched her hands to her chest in mock fear. Having just pulled on his pants, Leo didn't even bother with a shirt. He flashed a wicked grin. You said I was a pervert, right? Hiss. Don't touch me. Don't touch my belly button. Your hands are freezing. If I get stomach ache, it's your fault. Leo's pervert act lasted all of 3 seconds before the real pervert, Julianne, assaulted him with her icy hands, thoroughly defeating him. After groping him, Julianne put on an innocent face. Is that all you've got? Scared already? All right, you're done for, Leo said, making a move as if to take off his pants. Ha, okay, I'm just kidding, Julianne said, laughing. Of course, Leo wasn't really going to take his pants off. It was broad daylight, and with Damen and Saraphina in the living room, it wouldn't be good to make too much noise. After they were dressed, they ate lunch in the room. They didn't have to wash the dishes. They just left them on the dining table for Seraphina's assistant to pick up later. When Leo went out to put the containers on the table, Saraphina and Damen had already gone back to their room, and he could faintly hear their laughter. What should we do this afternoon? Julianne asked, flopping onto the bed without taking off her shoes as Leo came back into the room. Shouldn't I be the one asking you that? Leo said, collapsing onto the bed next to her with a yawn. Are you going to the campus commons to write? Julianne glanced at the time on her phone, then put it down. It's still pretty early, and I'm a little sleepy. Leo understood immediately. So, you want to take a nap? Yeah, but you have to wake me up at 2, she said, kicking off her slippers and sliding under the covers like a little kitten. Watching her get settled, Leo smiled. I'll set an alarm. He set the alarm, pulled the curtains halfway, and snuggled into the blankets with the person he loved on a winter afternoon. It was pure bliss. Tonight, I need to go back to the dorm with Saraphina to take a shower. I feel like my hair is getting gross after 2 days. No way. It's so cold, and you haven't even been sweating. One night isn't going to make a difference. Smell it. Does it stink? It doesn't. It's fragrant. You smell sweet, Julianne, like a little cupcake. You're just saying that. How can it be fragrant after 2 days? It's true. I never lie. It smells fragrant to me. Leo is a big liar. He's the best at lying. Drowsiness took over, and Julianne's words trailed off into sleepy murmurs as she snuggled into his arms and drifted off. Soon after, Leo fell asleep, too. In one room, Leo and Julianne napped peacefully. In the room next door, Damen and Saraphina sat together playing video games, an equally cozy scene. At Damien's strong recommendation, Saraphina had also downloaded an auto-battler game, and the two were playing in duo mode. Is this the game you were having Jules teach you the other day? Saraphina asked. Yeah, Damen nodded. Her luck is insane. She carried me to victory all afternoon. Is it that hard to get first place? It is, Damen insisted. I've been playing for a while, and besides the bot matches when I was a beginner, I almost always place third or worse. Really? Is it harder than that fighting game we played at the gaming lounge? It's a different genre, so the difficulty is different. You'll see once you play. They played for the whole afternoon. Aside from Seraphina's first match, a protected bot game where she easily took first, they got knocked out in 7th or 8th place every single time. Staring at the 7th place icon, Saraphina gritted her teeth. Again, I refuse to believe I can't get another first place today. Seeing his girlfriend getting tilted, Damen quickly intervened. Babe, maybe we should take a break. No, we're playing again, she shot back. Okay. Perhaps the system sensed that making a newbie lose too much would kill her enthusiasm. The next game was a perfect start, followed by a string of lucky breaks. They steamrolled their way to a first-place victory. Yes, Saraphina hummed happily, her mood instantly lifted. She looked at Damen. So this is what you guys do for fun. These games are pretty interesting. They're okay, Damen said, scratching his head. Actually, I only started playing this recently. I didn't play games before. From a young age, Damen had been taught that video games were a tool for the poor to waste their cheap time. As the heir to a top-tier family, his purpose was to receive an elite education and lead his family to greater glory. So, for as long as he could remember, he hadn't lived a normal life. Do you want to go to the gaming lounge? Damen suddenly asked. Seraphina looked at him, surprised. What, you want to go? Damien nodded with a smile. Want to go play that fighting game? Your leg. Saraphina glanced down. How are you going to get to the lounge like that? We'll just go to the one on campus, Damien said. I can use my crutches. It'll be fine. The suggestion was tempting. Aside from getting food from the cafeteria, they had been cooped up in the dorm since last night. Saraphina was starting to get bored. Are you sure you can walk? She asked, still worried. I don't want you to make your injury worse. It'll be fine, don't worry. Once the decision was made, they didn't hesitate. They left the dorm immediately. The campus gaming lounge had opened recently on the university concourse. It didn't have a street front entrance. Instead, it was located in a basement to save on rent. The computer setups were on par with high-end off-campus lounges, and the prices reflected that. The first basement level was the general area, while the second was the VIP section with private booths and rooms, costing 3 times as much. The cost was trivial for them. On their first visit, Damien, being Damien, had dropped a few $1,000s onto their accounts, which they had yet to use up. Saraphina hadn't even had a chance to stop him. They got a private booth for 2, ordered a couple of milk teas, and put on their headsets for an afternoon of gaming. When Leo and Julianne finally woke up and emerged from their room, Damien and Saraphina were already deep in intense battles at the gaming lounge. Where's Saraphina? Did they go out? Julianne asked, rubbing her sleepy eyes and noticing the missing shoes by the door. Damien's leg probably feels better, so they went out for a walk or something. Young Leo said, covering his mouth. Young people just can't sit still. I'm going to grab my laptop, then I'm heading to the Student Activity Center to write, Julianne said, turning to go back to her room. Hey, Leo called out. Why don't you leave the laptop here? No way, she said, shaking her head. I can't type as fast on my phone as you can. Who said you had to use your phone? Then if I don't bring my laptop and I don't use my phone, how am I supposed to write? Have you ever been to a gaming lounge? No, she said immediately. Before she started writing, she had no use for a computer, and since she didn't like games, she'd never had a reason to go. Now that she had a laptop, there was even less reason. Leo propped his chin on his hand. I heard Damien say the school just opened a new gaming lounge. How about we go right there this afternoon? Julianne frowned. All my novel data is on this computer. Wouldn't it be a hassle to write at a lounge? It's fine, Leo waved his hand. You just log into your account, and all your data will be there. Let's go. I've never tried that. You're not tricking me, are you? Don't worry. Just come with me. Leo took her hand and led her out of the dorm. The gaming lounge was still having its grand opening event. Leo got them a 5-hour VIP pass for the afternoon. So, this is a gaming lounge? Julianne looked around like a curious kitten, taking in her new surroundings. This place is actually really nice. It's a campus lounge, and it's brand new, Leo said. The environment is definitely better than some of those old places off campus. Julianne turned to him. I always thought gaming lounges were these dark little rooms with a few computers, smelling of smoke and stale sweat. Leo couldn't help but laugh. What era of gaming lounge are you describing? Those $1-an-hour internet cafes have been gone for years. He gently tapped her on the forehead. Hey, she said, sticking out her tongue. I don't know much about this stuff. To be honest, I rarely come to these places either, Leo admitted. The last time he remembered being in one was back at USC, when he'd gone with his roommates to play games. What are you doing? Putting on the ear cup covers, Leo said, after getting the disposable covers on. He helped place the headset on Julianne's head. You can listen to music while you write. Since it was a couple's booth, the keyboard, mouse, and headset were all a matching pink. The pink cat ear headset looked surprisingly cute on her. Leo took out his phone to snap a picture. Seeing the camera pointed at her, Julianne immediately threw up a peace sign. After he took the shot, she checked to make sure it wasn't an unflattering photo before nodding in satisfaction. She fiddled with the headset. So, if I'm writing, what are you doing? Me? Leo smirked. I have my own plans. He put on his own headset and launched a game. Seeing him about to play, Julianne pouted and mumbled. So, you tricked me into coming here just so you could play games, didn't you? Ahem. Leo's face flushed. Of course not. Julianne narrowed her eyes. Then why is your face as red as a tomato? Is it? It is. Let me order you a drink. You'll probably get thirsty while you write. Don't you dare change the subject, you dummy. What kind of milk tea did you order? It's really good, Julianne said, taking a long sip. I think it was called Garden Oolong, Leo replied, glancing over while waiting for his game to match. You like it? It's delicious, she nodded. Let me have a sip. Nope, Julianne said, holding the cup protectively. Not unless you call me Your Majesty. Leo replied with a defiant tone. I would never stoop so low as to call you that for a sip of milk tea. Never. Your Majesty, may I please have a sip? Ha ha ha. Julianne burst out laughing at his sudden turn. I thought you said you wouldn't. A wise man knows when to be flexible. Not bad, not bad. Very good, she said, patting his head like he was a pet. She brought the cup to his lips. Open up. I'll feed you. Leo took a huge gulp, draining a quarter of the cup in one go. Whoa, how can you drink so much at once? What else am I supposed to do? Sip it for an entire afternoon like you girls do. Leo could never understand how girls could make one drink last so long. He could finish one in 3 gulps. It's so sweet, Julianne countered. Don't you feel sick drinking it all at once? Nope, he said, shaking his head. Okay then. After chatting for a bit, Julianne got to work. She was full of energy after a nap, and the milk tea gave her another jolt. Her mind felt like a fountain of inspiration. The only issue was the keyboard. After getting used to her ergonomic one, the standard keyboard felt a bit strange. It took her a while to adjust. After writing about 1,300 words, she took a break. Leo was still completely absorbed in his 5v5 tower defense game. Julianne leaned on the desk, propping her chin on her hand and tilting her head as she watched him. His eyes were locked on the screen, his expression focused, his fingers flying across the keyboard. He looked undeniably handsome when he was that serious. She suddenly recalled the esports romance novels that were popular a few years ago. She wondered if the male leads in those stories looked as handsome as Leo did when they were gaming. Julianne, Leo forced me to write that. Leo, liar. I did not. Top lane. Need help, Leo said into his mic. As he spoke, his Adam's apple bobbed up and down. The movement had a strange rhythm to it that was, for some reason, incredibly attractive. Julianne's eyes were glued to the spot. Her heart fluttered as if brushed by a feather. She had to fight the impulse to lean over and plant a kiss right there. The couple's booth was small but private, with frosted glass walls. The idea was certainly feasible, but interrupting his game might make him angry. Why are you staring at me like that? Leo asked, turning to her during his character's respawn time. I'm not staring at you like that, she denied. Yes, you were, Leo said with a laugh. He reached over and pinched her cheek, then leaned in and kissed her. Once wasn't enough. He pecked her cheek several more times like a little chick. The sound of his character respawning pulled him away. He turned back to his game, leaving a dazed Julianne with a face full of his saliva. She thought, did I just get pecked by something? She wiped her face and went back to writing her novel. Before she knew it, it was 4:30. Julianne finished her chapter for the day and took off her headset. At almost the exact same time, Leo took off his. The victory screen flashed on his monitor. You're done playing? Julianne asked. Yep, you're done with work. So what's the point of me still playing? Let's go. But what about the leftover time on our pass? It'll be wasted. Since it was a one-time pass, the unused time couldn't be saved. It's just a few bucks, who cares? Leo said, wrapping an arm around her waist. Come on, I'll take you to get some snacks, and then we can walk around the athletic field. It's almost 5. Are there still events going on? I think so. Jessica told me some of the dance majors are doing a random dance play event on the field tonight. Julianne shot him a glare. You're not allowed to go to that. Okay, we won't go. Not long after they left, Damen and Saraphina emerged from the booth right next to theirs. Saraphina, Damen said, leaning on his crutches. I swear I kept hearing Miller's voice this afternoon. You've been saying that all afternoon. Seraphina said, rolling her eyes. You've been playing so much your brain is turned to mush. You're hearing things? They're back at the dorm. No, I really think I need to get my ears checked. As the sun set, the second day of the Ethelberg Royal Academy sports meet came to a close. Since various student clubs were hosting activities in the evening, the athletic field was decorated with beautiful colored lights. Students had even set up stalls, creating a lively festival atmosphere. After dinner, Leo held Julianne's hand as they strolled across the field. When they passed a stall selling candied apples, Julianne lingered for just a moment too long. That was all it took for Leo to pull out his wallet. How much for one? Leo asked the student running the stall. The student enthusiastically launched into his pitch. The small fruit skewers are 6 for $18 a box. The big classic candied apples are $10 each, or 2 for $15. Do you want the fruit skewers or the classic apple? Leo asked Julianne. Huh? Oh, she said, snapping out of her daze. She shook her head. That's expensive. Let's not get any. Okay, Leo nodded. Then he turned back to the student. We'll take one of each. He immediately paid the $28. Okay. The student had assumed Leo would listen to his girlfriend. He froze for a second before recovering. Right away, I'll get that for you. Julianne stared, 3 large question marks appearing over her head. I thought we said it was too expensive. Leo grinned. If you want it, I'll buy it for you. I'm not going to let you miss out on something just because it's a little pricey. Julianne's cheeks flushed. Oh, Who said I wanted it? You can eat them yourself. Haha, you said it. So when I'm eating them later, you better not have any. No fair. The boy preparing their candied apples watched their interaction with a small, envious smile. Plenty of couples had stopped by his stall tonight, but most of the time, it was the girl asking the guy to buy her one. A guy like Leo, who was observant enough to guess what his girlfriend wanted just from a single glance, was a rare find. Moreover, among the couples he'd seen, not many girls were as considerate of their boyfriend's wallet as Julianne. Most wouldn't think a $10 candied apple was expensive, and some would even get angry if their boyfriend asked the price and then didn't buy it, seeing it as an embarrassment. Though such guys were less common at Ethelberg, where wealthy students were a dime a dozen. It was precisely because he had seen so many strange couples that the stall owner was particularly envious of the easy, caring dynamic between Leo and Julianne. While the boy was bagging the treats, Leo asked, "Did you make these yourself, or did you buy them from off-campus?" "Our club made them. We bought the fruit and sugar and made them in the school's culinary lab," the student explained. "I'm a food science major. Our lab classrooms are basically professional kitchens. We have areas for cooking and dedicated rooms for baking pastries and cakes." "Oh, I've heard about that," Leo nodded. "I'm also the president of the baking club," the student continued, holding up a fruit skewer. "When we have free time, we set up a stall on campus to sell some of the things our members make. We just made these this afternoon. And don't worry," he added, "we use high-quality fruit. The single cherry on this skewer costs almost $2, so selling them for $18 is basically just breaking even." "The baking club?" Julianne chimed in, her interest piqued. "That sounds like fun." "Yeah, our activities are mostly just making cakes, bread, and other small desserts. The only problem is the ingredients are a bit expensive, so we have to sell our creations to make back some of the cost," the boy said with an embarrassed laugh. It was a common situation. The school's funding for clubs was limited and allocated based on size. The student government could pull in sponsorships for large-scale events, but smaller clubs with insufficient funds often had to rely on member donations. "Are you two interested in joining?" the boy asked, looking at them with hopeful eyes. "We're having a recruitment drive after New Year's, right in the small plaza behind the Culinary Arts building." "Well," Leo said, politely deflecting, "if we have time, we'll check it out." Leo could barely be bothered with the SGA. The last thing he wanted was to join another club and give himself more work. But the business model was interesting. Maybe he could get the SGA members to make some snacks to sell at the Student Activity Center. While Leo wasn't interested, Julianne was genuinely tempted. Inspired by Saraphina baking for Damien, she had been wanting to make something for Leo herself. She felt like, aside from feeding him, there wasn't much else she could do for him. Leo didn't need anything, and she felt like she had nothing to offer. She couldn't just have a baby for him, could she? "Here are your candied apples." "Thanks." After buying the treats, they continued their walk, munching on the candied apples and browsing the other stalls. There were all kinds of things for sale, but nothing else caught their eye. As they walked, Julian turned to Leo, a little shy. "How did you know I wanted a candied apple back there?" Leo smiled confidently. "Who am I? I'm a mind reader when it comes to you. You think I don't know what's on your mind?" "Uffed, you probably just guessed," she said with a dismissive pout. "Don't be so sure," Leo said, meeting her eyes. "I can guess what you're thinking right now." "Oh yeah," she said, intrigued. "Go on then. What am I thinking?" "You're definitely thinking, my boyfriend is so handsome. I feel like I don't even deserve him. What am I going to do? This is so frustrating." Julian had no idea what he was going to say, but his answer made her burst out laughing. She slapped his shoulder. "You're insane. Can you be normal for once?" "So you weren't thinking that?" "Of course not." "Ugh, you're such a narcissist." "Oh, so I'm a narcissist, am I? Well, you're not getting any of the rest of these candied apples. They're all for me." "No way." Julianne reached for the bag in his hand, but Leo held it up high. She couldn't reach it, so she started jumping for it, and he just raised his arm higher over his head. Bickering playfully, they left the athletic field behind. On the third and final day of the winter sports meet, the enthusiasm had noticeably waned. The stands, which had been packed from morning to night on the first day, were now mostly empty. At 10:30 in the morning, Leo and Julianne were still in bed. The previous night, they had stayed up until 4 in the morning playing the auto battler game together. Now they were both fast asleep. It was a good thing Leo's race wasn't scheduled for that morning. Otherwise, he would have collapsed after a few steps. Leo woke up first, but Julianne was clinging to him like a koala, her arms and legs wrapped tightly around his waist. He couldn't get up, so he just lay there, scrolling through his phone. After a few videos, the sound woke Julianne up. "Oh, what are you doing?" she whined, still half asleep and grumpy about being disturbed. "It's 10:30. The sun is already up." You're still sleeping. Leo flicked her forehead gently. Get up. This is all your fault, she mumbled, her eyes barely open. You're the one who insisted on playing games all night. Liar, Leo shot back. You're the one who got hooked and wouldn't stop. How is this my fault? It's your fault, Julianne said, bumping her head against his chest like a dazed little lamb. Okay, my fault. When his girlfriend was as cute, who cared who was right or wrong? The moment she started pouting, she was right about everything. Julianne felt a wicked little smile spread across her face as she realized she had him wrapped around her little finger. See, she thought to herself, all you need is to act a little cute. Handling Leo is child's play. The day's little lamb was just an act. Underneath the sheep's wool was a cunning fox. But that was fine. Cunning foxes could be cute, too. Waking up so late, they skipped breakfast and went straight to lunch. After attending the sports meets closing ceremony in the afternoon, Leo and Julianne drove straight off campus. Today was the day of the court hearing for Clara Hale's divorce from Trevor Hale. Leo and Julianne were going to accompany her. After being discharged from the hospital, Clara had been staying in a house Leo had rented for her. It wasn't just a rental. It was a small, detached house in the suburbs, and Leo had even hired several caregivers to look after her. After a few days of care, her complexion had improved significantly. The sallow, gaunt look was gone, replaced by a healthier, fuller face. She looked more alive and vibrant than she had in years. The moment Julianne walked in, she threw herself into her mother's arms, hugging her tightly and refusing to let go. Seeing her mother looking so much better filled her with joy. Clara's rough hand gently stroked her daughter's cheek. You're a grown woman now. Why are you still acting like a little child? No matter how old I get, I'll always be your daughter, Julianne said with a goofy grin. The words were innocent, but they struck a chord with Leo, who was standing nearby. His nose tingled, and he quickly turned his head to wipe away a tear that had escaped from the corner of his eye. He wasn't usually one to cry, but anything related to mothers or his own memories of his mom always hit him hard. Sometimes he felt he was being overly dramatic, a grown man who couldn't even control his own tears. Leo, please, have a seat, Clara said. Thanks, Aunt Clara. Let me get you some tea. Clara started to get up, but before she could, one of the caregivers had already brought out 2 cups. Thank you, Clara said immediately. In all her years, she had never been waited on like this. She still wasn't used to it, and was always exceedingly polite. The caregiver smiled. Don't mention it, ma'am. It's our job. After sitting for a little while, they checked the time and left for the courthouse. Leo had already been applying a little pressure on Trevor Hale for a few days. After a taste of Leo's methods, Trevor didn't dare cause any more trouble and meekly accepted the court's judgment. He obviously didn't have the money to pay Clara and Julianne what he owed. He was a deadbeat with not a penny to his name. He'd even been getting his alcohol on credit for the past few days. His only option was to sell the house and split the money. The house in the projects was old and dilapidated, but it was still worth a decent amount. This was, after all, Ethelberg, where every square inch of land was gold. He didn't even have to list it with a real estate agent. Someone who ran a rental business contacted him directly and bought the property. The house sold for over $1 million. The court ordered him to pay the mother and daughter $758,000. After the transfer, he was left with about $300,000 or $400,000, which was still a considerable sum. It was more than enough for him to move to a small town, buy a cheap used house, find an easy job, and live out the rest of his life comfortably. Except, he chose to self-destruct. After leaving the courthouse, Trevor Hale withdrew all his remaining cash, stuffed it into a heavy bag weighing nearly 20 pounds, and walked right back into the underground casino run by the Jong family. He had nothing left. He wanted to go all in one last time. $400,000. If he won, it would be 10 times, no, 100 times that amount. $40 million. That was enough to make a comeback. He would pay back every bit of suffering he'd endured. If Manny had been at the casino that day, he would never have let him in. But Manny wasn't there. The bouncer was a new guy. Seeing that Trevor had nearly $400,000 in cash, he looked like a fat lamb ready for slaughter. How could they let that walk away? Of course, he had to let him in. The moment Trevor stepped into the casino, every security camera swiveled to focus on him. He was being watched by 100 eyes. He exchanged his cash for high-value chips and started betting frantically. At first, with reckless all-in bets, he turned his $400,000 into $2 million. But once the people behind the cameras figured out his betting pattern, they simply manipulated the machines on his final, desperate bet. He was wiped out in a single hand. Dejected, Trevor started to leave, but another trap was waiting for him at the door. Need a loan? $1 million. Just sign here. $1 million. That much. What am I signing? Don't ask so many questions. Do you want it or not? Sign, go back in, win one more time, and you can win back everything you lost and more. Trevor's heart pounded. He threw caution to the wind, signed the contract without reading it, and took the million in chips back into the casino. In the surveillance room, the men looked at the signed contract with satisfaction. Give him a one-way ticket. When the boss finds out we caught another big fish while he was out, he'll definitely give us a huge reward. Ha ha ha. This tells us one thing. A gambler's story never has a happy ending. After leaving the courthouse, Leo and the others returned to the rented villa. The moment they walked through the door, Clara Hale turned to Leo. Leo, honey, about the money we owe. While we're on the subject, let me pay you back some of it today. Please, take everything in this account. Leo had been the one to arrange and pay for her cancer surgery. He'd found the lawyer for the divorce. He'd helped them countless times before. The hundreds of thousands of dollars she'd gotten from the settlement weren't nearly enough to cover the money and favors they owed him. Leo, I'm so sorry, Clara said, her voice full of apology. You've been the one helping us through everything. I feel like I've just been a burden to you both. Don't say that, Mrs. Hale. Leo quickly waved his hands, refusing. You keep that money. I'm not short on cash right now. But, oh, Clara sighed, pressing on. Leo, I know this might not be a lot to you, that you might not even think twice about it, but please just take it. No, absolutely not. Leo insisted, gently pushing the card away. Mrs. Hale, listen to me. Today is a great day. Let's not talk about money. As long as you're healthy, we can always make more money. You can let Jules pay me back in the future. He winked, pointing at a quiet Julianne. Right, Jules? Huh? Oh, Julianne had been watching from the side, and being suddenly pulled into the conversation left her momentarily stunned. Seeing both Leo and her mother staring at her, a blush crept up her neck. She nodded, turning to her mother. He's right, Mom. That settlement money is yours. You should keep it. As for what we owe Leo, I'll figure out a way to pay him back. Leo was adamant about not taking the money, and Julianne kept siding with him. After a moment of thought, Clara finally decided to give half the money, nearly $76,000, to her daughter, telling her to find a way to give it to Leo. It was a lot of money, but at the same time, it was so little. Clara had wasted half her life on that scoundrel Trevor Hale, and all she had to show for it was 76 grand. Thinking of it that way, it was an insultingly small amount. In a place like Ethelberg, where property values were astronomical, it wasn't even enough to buy a place back in the projects, let alone a bathroom in the city center. So, she figured it was better to use it to pay off their debts to Leo. Once the matter of money was settled, Clara looked at Leo again. Leo, honey, could I ask you for one more favor? Leo nodded immediately. Of course, Mrs. Hale. Anything. If it's something I can do, I'll do everything I can. I was hoping you could help me find a cheap place to rent. Clara glanced around the small but luxurious villa. Jules can stay in the dorms for the next few years, but I can't live in your house forever. I haven't been back to the factory since my diagnosis, and they wouldn't want me back now anyway. So I was thinking I could rent a small, cheap place and maybe sell some produce at a local market. Renting a place is no problem. I'll start looking in the next few days, Leo agreed. As for a job, don't you worry about that, either. Just focus on getting your strength back. I heard USC is hiring new cafeteria workers next year. The pay is pretty good. You could give it a shot then. Clara's eyes widened. Really? Someone like me could apply for a job at your university? Why not? It's a job in the cafeteria, Leo said with a smile. They're always looking for good people. Right, Jules? Huh. Called on again, Julian blinked twice before catching on. All right. That's right, Mom. If you work in the cafeteria, I can come to your station for lunch. Maybe I'll even get an extra piece of chicken. Leo added, for now, just focus on your health. After the holidays, you can go for the interview. I hear they even have staff housing. You could see us every day. Yes, that sounds wonderful, Clara said, nodding repeatedly. The idea was clearly growing on her. Julianne took her mother's hand. Then you have to get better, Mom. Working in the USC cafeteria is just as demanding as the assembly line. You need to be strong to earn that money. Okay, I will. Seeing her mother agree so quickly, Julianne shot a look at Leo. They shared a smile. A moment later, Clara asked, Are you two in a rush to get back to campus tonight? Why don't you stay for dinner? I can cook. Actually, how about we go out? Julianne suggested, looking from Leo to her mother. Mom, I don't think we've ever gone out for hot pot together. Let's go tonight. But the thought of eating out made Clara, who had been frugal her whole life, hesitate. It's so much more expensive. Why don't we just eat at home? Julianne squeezed her mother's hand, putting on a pouting voice. It's not like we do it every day. Come on, Mom, let's go out. She's right, Leo chimed in. A day this momentous deserves a celebration. We have to go out. No more arguments. Mrs. Hale. Well, all right then. After a moment's hesitation, Clara finally gave in. Great. Go get change, Mom. We'll leave as soon as you're ready. Okay. After Clara went upstairs, Julian sank onto the couch and let out a long sigh of relief. Leo sat down beside her. I'll take you to buy a house tomorrow, he whispered. Julianne turned her head to look at him. Are you really going to buy a house near campus for my mom? Yeah, of course, Leo said without a second thought. You know her, Julianne said. She'd never accept it if you bought it for her. Then we'll just tell her we're renting it, Leo schemed. We'll rent it to her for cheap. Then, after we get married, we can tell her the truth. Julianne smiled. Wow, Leo Miller. What did you get so sneaky? Leo grinned back. I had a good teacher in you, didn't I? Speaking of which, you've already got our wedding planned out? I don't remember saying yes to marrying you. Julianne pouted, looking impossibly cute. Leo reached out and gently squeezed her cheek. Please, you owe me a mountain of debt. If you can't pay it back, you'll just have to marry me to settle the score. With her face still smushed in his hand, Julianne mumbled. So you had this all figured out. You were trying to trick me into being your wife all along. Of course, you've been claimed by this young master. You're not escaping my grasp in this lifetime. Oh, that's so cheesy. MMPH. Julianne was feigning disgust, but before she could finish, Leo's lips were on hers. Her eyes went wide, her expression screaming, Are you crazy? My mom is right upstairs. Julianne picked the hot pot restaurant for dinner. Following her directions, Leo drove to a bustling university town nearby. It was the weekend, and the streets were swarming with college students out shopping. On Leo's advice, Julianne had made a reservation, so the three of them were seated immediately. As they sat down, Clara watched Leo and Julianne staring at their phones and asked curiously, Why don't they give you a menu at this place? Mom, most restaurants in these big commercial centers use QR codes for ordering now, Julianne explained, holding her phone out for her mother. Here, take a look and see what you want. Oh, is that how it works? Clara squinted at the screen for a moment, then waved her hand. I don't know how to use this. You two just order. Okay then. Do you eat lamb? Yes. Just order whatever. You don't have to ask me. Clara folded her hands on the table, watching her daughter with a gentle gaze. Leo added a few dishes he knew both he and Julianne liked, but he didn't know Clara's preferences, so he left most of the ordering to her. The split pot, one side mushroom broth, the other a spicy tallow base, arrived first. Soon after, the other dishes began to fill the table. Clara pointed to a bowl containing a wobbly, bright red, jelly-like substance. What is that? It looks a little intimidating. That's fresh duck blood. Duck blood isn't that red, is it? And it doesn't set like that. The server was stumped for a second. She thought for a moment before replying. Our duck blood is made from fresh plasma, so it's much redder than what you find at the market. Oh, it's best to put it in while the broth is still cool. It's very tender once it's cooked, the server explained, picking up the bowl. Would you like me to add it to the pot for you now? Yes, please, Julianne nodded. In the spicy side, that's fine. After adding the duck blood, the server took the empty, blood-streaked plate away. Just let me know if you need anything else. Once the broth came to a boil, Julianne cooked a thin slice of lamb and placed it in her mother's bowl. Mom, the broth here is amazing. The lamb is delicious in it. Leo and I came here once before. It is good, Clara said after eating the piece, a look of pleasant surprise on her face. The seasoning in restaurants these days is so strong. One dip and it's all numb and spicy. She looked at the paper-thin slices of lamb arranged over a bed of ice, a wistful look in her eyes. When I was a little girl, she began, her voice drifting into memory, my family was poor. We never ate at restaurants. The first time her father took me out, on our blind date, he took me to a place that served Mongolian hot pot. The pot was just filled with plain boiling water, but the lamb was so fresh from young sheep. They'd butcher it right there and slice it in front of you, selling it by the pound. I think it was $10 a pound, which was so expensive back then. Lamb at the market was only $7 or $8. But that fresh-killed lamb was so much more tender than the market stuff. You just swish it in the pot until the color changed, pull out, and dip in the sauce. It was so fragrant, so full of flavor. I remember the restaurant had communal seating. You had to pay for the charcoal for the copper pot, and some people couldn't afford it alone, so they'd share a table with others who had already ordered one. The restaurant would put a little copper divider in the pot to keep the meat from drifting to the other side. It wasn't uncommon to see 7 or 8 burly factory workers crowded around one little pot. Your father was making good money then. He took me, just the two of us, to our own table. We didn't have to share. We spent over $100 that night. There were 7 or 8 plates of lamb on the table. It was the first time in my life I'd ever eaten until I was full. The pot kept boiling, and the steam rising from it blurred his face, but even now, I can still remember his bright, shining eyes. He was so full of life back then. He was so good. Oh, what's the use? Clara let out a long sigh. Her cloudy eyes filled with the weight of the past. Years of hardship had worn away all her hope. She would never forgive that bastard Trevor Hale, of course. She was just reminiscing, marveling at how people change, at how time flows past. Yes, people always change. Listening to her story, the person who felt the worst wasn't Julianne, but Leo. A few careless sentences he'd written had become the tragic arc of someone's entire life. Sometimes, he even wondered if he himself was just some tragic side character in another author's book, designed only to make some magnificent protagonist look better. If so, the first thing he'd do is break through the fourth wall, snatch the keyboard, and rewrite his own god-awful, miserable first half of a life. After a moment of silence, Leo was the first to speak. People are complicated. He made his own bed, and now he has to lie in it. Karma will get him. Don't think about it too much, Mrs. Hale. None of it is your fault. I've seen it all, and I've let it go. It just came back to me is all. Just complaining, Clara said, lightly slapping the back of her other hand. She forced a smile. Listen to me, ruining such a wonderful day by talking about all this. How silly. She let out a small laugh, brushing the topic aside. Because of Clara's recent surgery, Julianne didn't let her eat too much spicy food, so she mostly stuck to the mushroom broth with her mother. Clara's appetite was excellent. She ate a lot and even had a little soda. Throughout the meal, Leo kept playfully teasing Julianne to liven the mood. Their light-hearted bickering made Clara grin from ear to ear, her teeth showing in a full, genuine laugh. In her entire life, Julianne had never seen her mother laugh so freely. It suddenly struck her. Her mother was once a young girl, too. Yes, she should have always been able to laugh like this. She should have been able to live without a care in the world, but it was all right now. From this day forward, there would be no more chains holding her mother down. She could finally be herself again. As Julianne thought this, a tear rolled down her cheek, but her lips were curved into a smile. A happy tear. After dinner, Leo drove Clara back to the rented house. After a few words with the caregiver, he drove Julianne back to campus. On the way back to USC, the smile never left Julianne's face. She hummed a cheerful little tune. Leo remembered she asked him a question. Leo, she'd said, when do you think a person is the happiest? I don't know, he'd replied. Because I think I'm still looking for the answer to that question myself. It's okay. I'll help you look for it. Why? Because, she said, grinning at him, her eyes full of love. You've already helped me find my answer. Back on campus, Leo dropped Julianne off at her dorm. With Saraphina not staying over with Damien tonight, Julianne had to return to the women's residence hall. Leo was reluctant to let her go, but there was nothing to be done. They were dating, not married. Living together every day wasn't exactly appropriate, especially with Damien playing the third wheel. An idea sparked in Leo's mind. Maybe next year he could find an excuse to have Damien and Saraphina move into the suite next door. Then he and Julianne could have their own place and visit back and forth. That sounded pretty good, but living together every day would be draining, and he had no intention of becoming a father at his age. After thinking it over, Leo abandoned the idea. When he got back to the suite, Damien was lying on his bed, looking frail and sickly, video chatting with Saraphina in a soft voice. His door was wide open. Hearing the front door, Damien called out, Miller, is that you? Duh, Leo called back. Who else would it be? Damien turned back to his phone. Babe, Miller's back. I'll talk to you later. Saraphina's voice came through the phone. Okay, if you need anything, just ask Leo for help. I won't be over tonight. Okay. After hanging up, Damien sat bolt upright. The frail, sick-looking patient from a moment ago vanished completely. Seeing the sudden resurrection, Leo's eyes went wide. He walked into Damien's room. So, are you better or not? I've been better for a while, Damien said, standing up and taking a few steps to demonstrate. I just sprained my ankle. It's been 3 days. Of course it's healed. What about your neck? Leo pointed to Damien's neck brace. Is that better too? Damien gingerly rotated his head from side to side. Mostly better. Still can't make any big movements. Oh, Leo said, realization dawning. So you just been faking it these last couple of days to get sympathy from Saraphina? You even fooled me. Leo had suspected Damien wasn't as injured as he let on, but he hadn't expected such a quick recovery. The male lead's constitution truly was on another level. A sprained ankle healed in 2 days. I have not. Damien quickly shook his head. I really was in bad shape yesterday and the day before. I just feel a lot better today. You think I'm going to believe that? Leo rolled his eyes. Save it. Damien grabbed Leo's arm. Miller, you can't tell Saraphina, okay? Yeah, I get it, Leo said with a knowing nod. So, any progress with you and Saraphina these last 2 days? I think. Maybe. Possibly. Probably. Damien scratched his head, giving a muddled response. In truth, he had no idea if they'd made any progress. Forget it. Asking you is useless. Leo shook his head, half amused. Well, if you're fine, I'm not going to worry about you anymore. Okay. Damien nodded, then shook his head again. Wait, Miller, one more thing. What now? The fact that my leg is better. You absolutely cannot. Leo nodded again. I won't tell Saraphina. Don't worry. Good. Hearing this, Damien relaxed. Before Leo could leave, he asked, New Year's Eve is on Tuesday. Have you figured out where you're taking your girlfriend? Leo shook his head. Nope. I've been so busy lately, my head's been spinning. Haven't had time to think about it. Busy. Spinning. Damien narrowed his eyes, giving Leo a strange look. As far as he recalled, during the 3-day sports meet, aside from the 3K run on the second morning, Leo had spent the entire time with Julianne. He hadn't even left campus. How busy could he have been? Ahem. Leo cleared his throat, a little embarrassed. What's with that look? I could be busy even if I'm with my girlfriend all day, you know. Oh, Damien didn't get it, but he nodded anyway. Well, if there's nothing else, I'm going back to my room. Go ahead. After sleeping with Julianne for 2 nights, Leo suddenly felt an emptiness sleeping alone, like something was missing. It was strange. He never felt this way sleeping by himself before. How had 2 days made him so unused to it? Tossing and turning in bed, Leo picked up the pillow Julianne had used, sniffed it, and hugged it to his chest. A few moments later, drowsiness washed over him. Hearing the sound of Leo's snoring from the next room, Damien chuckled to himself. Miller falls asleep fast. He glanced at the empty pillow next to him and remembered the night before last, when Saraphina had slept beside him for the first time, her face half hidden by the blanket, looking shy and timid. They hadn't done anything, but just seeing her lying next to him had filled him with contentment. A smile crept onto Damien's face. His girlfriend was so cute. He suddenly wished they could get married sooner, so he could wake up every morning and see her sleeping beside him. He picked up his phone and sent Saraphina a message. Damien, babe, you asleep? Saraphina, who was also tossing and turning, replied instantly. Saraphina, not yet. I think I slept too much during the day, so I can't fall asleep now. Damien, me too. I miss you so much right now. You stayed with me for 2 days, and I just got used to having you here, and now you're gone. I feel so empty. I can't sleep at all. His words struck a chord deep in Saraphina's heart. His sincerity was more potent than any pickup line. Damien, do you think this counts as a long-distance relationship? Saraphina, who had been feeling touched, read the next message and burst out laughing. Saraphina, you big dummy, we're just one building apart. How is that a long-distance relationship? Damien, every minute I can't see you feels like a long-distance relationship. Saraphina, who taught you that cheesy line? It's pretty unique. Damien, it's not a cheesy line. It took me forever to think of it. Saraphina, haha. Besides Saraphina, someone else in the dorm was wide awake, Julianne. She had been sleepy, but after showering and getting into bed, she was suddenly not tired at all. The last 2 nights, when she slept with Leo, he would use one arm as a pillow for her neck and wrap the other around her waist, his large hand gently stroking her back to lull her to sleep. He was like a giant, warm teddy bear. Cuddled up against him was like being next to a fireplace, so warm and secure. Tonight, sleeping alone, there was no arm for her neck, no arm around her waist. Her back felt exposed, and the small bed felt strangely cold and empty. That sense of security was gone, and she couldn't sleep. Lying in bed, she sent Leo a message. Julianne, Lily, you asleep? But Leo was already snoring his head off. There was no way he'd reply. Julianne stared at the chat screen, waiting and waiting. Somehow, her eyelids started to droop. Before long, she was fast asleep. Saraphina and Damien, however, were still chatting animatedly. They started with romance, but somehow the conversation drifted to video games. They even made plans to go to a gaming lounge together the next day. If it weren't for the love between them, they were on track to becoming best buds. Most people go from friends to lovers. They were doing the reverse, which was a special kind of magic. The next morning, the 6:30 a.m. alarm went off, as usual. Leo habitually changed into his workout clothes and went downstairs for a run. After 2 laps, he had a belated realization. The sports meet is over. Why am I still running? Whatever. It's good exercise. Running strengthened his legs and his core. If he and Julianne ever did live together, he'd need to stay in shape. His back wouldn't be able to handle her. Well, no need to get into the specifics of how she'd wear him out. You'll understand when you're older. Besides, more exercise never hurt anyone. Having kept up the habit for over a month, Leo decided to stick with it. Julianne was also up early. She glanced at her phone and saw a message from Leo sent at 6:30. Leo, babe, sorry. I fell asleep early last night and didn't see your message. Seeing the time, Julianne guessed he was out on his morning run. Unable to fall back asleep, she got up, changed, and went downstairs. Sure enough, Leo was on the track. He spotted her from a distance, waved, and jogged over. Hey, babe, wait for me. I've only got one lap left. Okay. Julianne stood by the side of the track, patiently waiting. When he finished, she asked tentatively, How come you went to bed so early last night? I couldn't sleep at first, Leo said, feigning a dramatic sigh. You weren't there. It was impossible to fall asleep without you. Yeah, right. You say you couldn't sleep, but you conked out so early, she said, rolling her eyes, though she was secretly delighted. Whether he fell asleep early or not, his words proved he'd had withdrawal symptoms without her. It's true, Leo insisted. I only managed to fall asleep after hugging the pillow you used last night. And why would hugging my pillow help you sleep? Leo grinned. Because it had the faint scent of your hair on it. You. Julianne made a face, pretending to be grossed out. You don't have some kind of weird fetish, do you? What? No, I don't. Leo denied immediately. You slept with my scented pillow, and you say you don't? She teased with a wicked smile. That doesn't count as a weird fetish, he retorted. It's not like I'm collecting your worn stockings or something. You want them, Julianne said, making a motion as if she were about to take off her socks right then and there. Leo's eyes widened. You're actually doing it. You actually want them. Julianne pulled back, pointing a finger at him. Uh-huh. I knew it. My boyfriend has a secret, perverted little fetish. I was just bluffing, and it turns out you really are interested in my socks. No, you. Leo's face, already flushed from his run, turned an even deeper shade of red. You're the one who led me on. I'm not interested in your worn socks at all. Ha ha. Seeing him so flustered, his blush spreading to his neck, Julianne burst out laughing. Okay, I'll stop teasing you. Wait a minute. Realizing he'd been played, Leo pointed at her. So you were just messing with me. A little punishment for not replying to my message last night, she said, making a small, tight fist in front of him. The impish gesture seemed to say, Little Leo Miller, I've got you right where I want you. You dare mess with me? You're done for. Leo threw his hands up like claws and lunged for her. Julianne took off running, shouting playfully, Naya, can't catch me. They chased each other off the track, their laughter echoing all the way to the cafeteria. After breakfast, Leo went back to the suite to change, then took Julianne to look for a house. They deliberately didn't drive. They had class in the afternoon and didn't plan on going far. Walking, they reasoned, would give them a better feel for which properties were truly close to campus. Across the street from the university's west gate was a small, old, run-down apartment complex. Leo wouldn't even consider it. Using the campus as a central point, they walked in an expanding circle, stopping here and there. Finally, Leo's eyes landed on a newly constructed, high-end commercial and residential complex. From the residential area, it was only a 10-minute walk, crossing 2 streets, to the east gate of the Ethelberg Royal Academy. As they entered the sales office, before the saleswoman could even speak, Leo noticed the large, festive red characters on a promotional sign. Ethelberg Group. The Ethelberg Group was one of the Miller Group's subsidiaries, wasn't it? Leo frowned and asked the saleswoman, Is this an Ethelberg Group property? Yes, it is. This is a comprehensive, high-end residential project developed by the Ethelberg Group, integrating education, luxury commerce, and top-tier medical facilities. It's an experimental pilot for future integrated living communities. The saleswoman rattled off a long list of high-concept professional terms. Leo didn't understand a single one, but he knew one thing for sure. This was his family's property. After all that searching, he'd ended up right back home. Leo pulled out his wallet. Do you have any move-in ready houses? I'll take one. Oh, yes. We do, the saleswoman stammered, nodding. Seeing him so ready to buy, her expression instantly became serious. Would you two like to see a model home? Leo and Julianne exchanged a glance, then he nodded. Sure, let's take a look. All our building materials and furniture are high-end imports, so you can rest assured about the quality. You can move right in. The saleswoman explained as she drove them in a golf cart, pointing out features along the way until they stopped in front of a large building. Leo frowned. Don't you have single-family homes here? We do. Would you like to see the villas, sir? Yes, the villas. We don't have any fully furnished models available at the moment. The furniture might be. That's fine. As long as the basic construction is done, we can handle the decor ourselves. Of course. I'll take you to the villa section right now. Sitting beside Leo, Julian tugged on his sleeve. He turned to her. What's wrong? Do we have to buy a villa? She whispered. Leo nodded. When you're buying a house, you might as well get it right the first time. If you can afford the best, you buy the best. But if you rent a villa to my mom for a super low price, won't that seem unreasonable? Leo thought for a moment. We'll just come up with a different excuse. Like what? Who cares? Let's buy the house first and figure that out later. But Julianne was at a loss for words. After crossing 3 streets, the cart stopped in front of a row of villas. Being in the heart of the city where land was scarce, the houses were on the smaller side, with only a front yard and no backyard. But small was good. It felt cozier. It would just be Julianne and her mother living there, so a house that was too big would feel empty and cold. The saleswoman showed them a few houses on the street. The layouts were all similar, so there wasn't much to choose from. After a brief discussion, they picked a villa closest to the community's main gate, which also had the shortest walk to campus. Although she had braced herself, Julianne's heart still skipped a beat when the saleswoman announced the price. With a discount for paying in full, the final price is $7 million. Even the saleswoman's heart fluttered as she said the number. She'd been working here for almost a year and had never closed a deal this big. If this went through, not only would she be the first to sell a villa, but she'd also earn a hefty commission. At the thought, her smile grew even brighter, and her gaze on Leo and Julie became more intense. The number finally registered for Julianne. What? 7 million? She exclaimed. The saleswoman said quickly. If you're not satisfied with the price, I can call my manager over. I can try to negotiate a better deal for you. What do you think? No need. The price is fine, Leo said, waving his hand dismissively. He wasn't interested in haggling. Compared to the villas in Elysian Estates, which easily went for over 100 million, this price was practically a bargain. Besides, the villas in Elysian Estates were no longer for sale to the public. If you weren't connected to the Miller family, you couldn't buy one no matter how much money you had. Leo pulled a random card from his wallet. I'll pay by card. Wait a second. Let me talk to him for a minute, Julianne said to the saleswoman before pulling Leo aside to whisper furiously. Are you an idiot? She just said she could get a better price, and you're just going to pay? Do you think $7 million is like 70 bucks? You're just giving it away. Listening to her, Leo couldn't help but laugh, patting her on the shoulder. It's fine. In the end, the money will just end up back in my pocket anyway. What do you mean? Julianne looked at him suspiciously. Don't tell me your family developed this community too? Actually, she'd had her suspicions when the saleswoman was giving her spiel, because the project was also branded with the Ethelberg name. But Leo hadn't said anything, and with a stranger present, she couldn't just ask. Yeah, they did, Leo confirmed with a nod. And besides, 7 million isn't that expensive. Are you serious? Julian stared at him as if she'd seen a ghost. She had always known Leo's family was rich. Now, she realized she had no idea just how rich. Of course I'm serious, he said. When have I ever lied to you? With that, he took her hand and led her back to the saleswoman. So, can I just swipe the card? Of course, but perhaps we should go back to the sales center first? The saleswoman asked quietly. Sure, Leo nodded. The 3 of them returned to the sales center. Under the watchful eyes of 2 other sales agents and a manager on duty, Leo and Julianne bought the house. The deed was registered in Julianne Hale's name. The staff enthusiastically threw a small purchasing ceremony for them. They stood on a decorated platform, holding the property deed, and posed for a picture. Julianne stared at her name on the deed, unable to process it for a long time. It wasn't until they'd left the sales center and walked a good distance away that she finally turned to Leo, the reality slowly sinking in. You really gave me the house? MHM, your name's on the deed, isn't it? Leo said with a smile. What? Are you so excited you've gone into shock? It doesn't feel real. It's like I'm dreaming. Julian couldn't believe he had just casually bought her a house. A $7 million house. He bought it like it was a head of lettuce, without even bargaining. From viewing to buying, the whole process took less than half an hour. And the deed was in her name? Julianne Hale? If this wasn't a dream, what was? She turned and stared at Leo, her eyes fixed on him. He started to feel a little unnerved. Why are you staring at me like that? I was just thinking, the way rich people buy houses in novels is completely different from how they do it in real life. What do you mean? There was no snobbish salesperson looking down on us, no rival showing up to cause trouble and belittle us, and no dramatic face-slapping scene. You just bought it, unpretentiously, a $7 million house. Pfft. See? This is why I tell you to read fewer brainless power fantasies. It's rotting your brain, Leo said, gently poking her forehead. Ow! At his touch, Julianne suddenly burst into tears. What's wrong? Leo panicked, thinking he'd poked her too hard. He was about to comfort her when she launched herself at him like a koala, wrapping her arms and legs around him tightly. Leo, she sobbed into his chest, we have a house. For Julianne, having a house wasn't just about owning a home. More importantly, in this city where she had never felt a sense of belonging, she finally had a place to anchor her soul. Ever since she was a child, she had dreamed of escaping her abusive father, taking her mother far away to a place where no one knew them, buying a house of their own, and starting a new life. Now, clutching the property deed, Julianne trembled with emotion. She never imagined this day would come so soon. She could already see a brand new life beckoning to her. And it was all thanks to Leo, the true benefactor in her life. All right, stop crying. You're going to ruin your makeup, Leo said gently, wiping the tears from the corners of her eyes. His words startled her. She quickly reached for her pocket to check her reflection, but then she remembered and playfully smacked him on the chest. Hey, I'm not even wearing any makeup, you dummy. Ha ha ha. Leo laughed, cupping her face in his hands. Okay. You won't be pretty anymore if you keep crying. MMM. On the way back to the dorm, Julianne clutched the deed so tightly it grew warm in her hands. Leo told her to take it back to her room, but she shook her head. You keep it. I'm afraid I'll lose it. All right. Leo held out his hand. Give it to me then. Wait. Let me look at it one more time. She opened the folder, gazed at her name one last time, and then reluctantly handed it over. I really want to post about this on my story right now and show off, she said, beaming. So do it. No way, she said, shaking her head. Don't flash your wealth, you know? Why attract unnecessary jealousy? Okay. Leo reached out and pinched her cheek. Whatever Big Sister Jules says goes. Julianne nodded, satisfied. I like the sound of Big Sister. Say it again. Nope. TCH, fine, don't. She gave his but a playful slap. I'm heading out. Leo instinctively covered the spot she'd hit, his face flushing. Hey, why are you acting like a pervert? I am one. Naya, she said, flashing a mischievous grin. Before Leo could react, she darted into the women's dorm. This girl, Leo muttered, looking down at the deed and shaking his head with a smile. It was still warm from her embrace. He wondered if it smelled faintly of her, but he wasn't about to sniff it in the middle of the street. Ahem, it's not like he wanted to, anyway. He returned to the suite with the deed in hand. Damien was on the couch, playing a game on his phone. His sprained leg was propped up high, and several pillows supported his neck. Why aren't you playing in your room? Leo asked. Damien glanced up. I have class this afternoon. I was afraid I'd fall asleep if I lay down in bed. Like you won't fall asleep on the couch. It's different. I don't take my clothes off to sleep on the couch. I can just wake up and go. If I get under the covers, I'll never want to get up. That actually makes sense. See? Damien grinned. Getting out of bed is the worst part of winter. Anyway, what's that in your hand? Property deed. You bought a house? I bought it for my girlfriend. Oh, nice. Damien sat up. Let me see. Here. Damien took the deed, abandoning his game to study it. How much did it cost? A little over 7 million. Only 7 million. Damien looked up from the deed. Why'd you buy such a cheap place? Leo didn't know whether to laugh or cry. 7 million isn't cheap, is it? 7 million. Isn't cheap. Why don't you buy me an expensive one then? Don't be like that. Damien pulled out his black card and held it out to Leo. Here, take it. No pin. Spend whatever you want, up to 200 million. Seeing Damien's domineering move, Leo could only think one thing. Brutally rich. He finally understood why billionaire CEO romances were so popular. This casual offering of a limitless credit card. Even he, a man, was struggling to resist the temptation. Thank God he was also rich, or he really might have ended up as the male lead's loyal sidekick. No thanks, you keep it. Leo pushed Damien's hand away and picked up the deed. I mainly bought this place because it's close to campus. Close to campus? Wait, don't tell me. Damien stroked his chin, looking at Leo suspiciously. Don't tell me you and Julianne are moving in together off campus. What kind of crazy idea is that? Leo rolled his eyes. I bought it for Julianne's mother to live in. Oh, you said. Damien nodded. I thought you were going to shack up with her. If I wanted to live with her, would I need to go off campus? Leo pointed to the floor. This suite allows for co-ed living, doesn't it? That's true. Damien suddenly looked shy. He cleared his throat. Well, is there any possibility? Just saying. Leo stared at him, a knowing look on his face. You want to live with Saraphina? No, 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 that's not it. That's not what I meant. Don't get the wrong idea. Damien waved his hands frantically. If you want to live with her, just say it. What's there to be embarrassed about? It's really not that. All right, no need to explain. I get it. Leo gave him a sly smile. If he remembered the novel correctly, Damen and Saraphina didn't move in together until their sophomore year. As long as both parties agree, you just have to fill out the application at the housing office. And you can live together, Leo explained. Oh, I see. Damien nodded, stroking his chin. Then he quickly looked up at Leo. But don't get me wrong, Miller. I really don't have any ideas like that. I was just asking. Leo just grinned. Right. I get it. No need to explain. December 31 SD. The last day of the calendar year. After today, the year was over. Tomorrow would be the first day of a new year, New Year's Day. The major shopping centers in Ethelberg City were already decked out for the occasion. And even from the dorms, you could see colorful streamers hanging from the buildings across the way. Early that morning, Charles Miller called and told Leo to bring his girlfriend home for dinner. Before Leo could even text her, Julianne messaged him first. Julianne, my mom is asking us to come over for dinner tonight. Leo, my dad just said he wants you to come to our place for dinner tonight. Julianne, oh, what do we do? Leo, how about we ask your mom not to cook? She just recovered from major surgery. She shouldn't be in the kitchen. She can come to my place tonight. Julianne, let me call and ask her. A few minutes later, Julianne messaged him again. Julianne, she says she'd be too embarrassed to come. She says she's not feeling her best and wants to wait until she's stronger and has more energy to meet your parents. Leo, so what about dinner? Julianne, she said I should go to your house tonight, and you can come to our place for dinner tomorrow on New Year's Day. Leo, okay, that works. Julianne, so you're good with that? I'll text her back. Leo, yeah, sounds good. Julianne, let's go out for lunch in a bit. After that, we can go pick out furniture. Leo, okay. 10 minutes later, Leo pulled up to the women's dorm. Julianne was wearing a big, puffy jacket she'd borrowed from his closet. It looked good on him, but on her, it was a bit overwhelming. She wasn't short, but her frame was small compared to a guy's. Did you run out of clothes? Leo teased as she got in the car. Why are you wearing my jacket? I have clothes, but this one is thick and big. It's like being wrapped in a blanket. It's so comfortable, she said, patting the coat. It's so warm, I wouldn't even need to wear anything underneath. Leo's eyes widened. Whoa, so you're telling me there's nothing under there? She gave him a wicked grin. That's right. I'm going commando. Want to see? Leo studied her expression. Usually, when you make that face, it means you're lying. So you're not that dumb. Wait a minute. She poked him on the forehead. Are you saying you actually wanted to see if I was naked under here? Leo crossed his arms, indignant. You're my girlfriend. What's wrong with me looking? Ew, I never knew you had such a weird fetish. What? What did I do? You're a big, perverted creep. Question mark. A giant question mark appeared over Leo's head. Bullshit. I am not. All right, enough with the dirty talk. Let's go get lunch. You're the one who started it. How is this my fault now? Leo grumbled as he got into the driver's seat. Julianne hopped into the passenger seat. What did you just say? You're hearing things? My lips didn't even move. Leo started the car, turned around, and headed off campus. Because they had to pick out furniture in the afternoon, they found a random diner on the side of the road for a quick lunch, then headed to a large furniture gallery. They hadn't told Clara about the new house yet, wanting to wait until the furniture was in and the place had been aired out. Besides, there was still over a month until the Lunar New Year. Moving in then wouldn't be too late. Leo had already paid for 3 months' rent on the villa Clara was staying in. He wanted to pay for a full year, but Julianne wouldn't let him. After browsing the furniture gallery and deciding on a style, they found a company that specialized in whole house custom design. Leo didn't have time to pick out every single piece of furniture himself. If a problem could be solved with money, there was no need to waste time on it. After showing the designer the floor plan and sharing their ideas, he showed them some sample layouts and past projects. Julianne didn't know much about interior design, but thought they all looked nice. If Julianne liked it, Leo wasn't going to waste time. He paid the deposit on the spot. Seeing how readily Leo paid, the designer was thrilled. Mr. Miller, are there any other requirements? He asked, his face wreathed in smiles. Leo thought for a moment. Use the best materials. Don't hold back on the design. Budget is not an issue. Is there not a general price range, just so I have an idea? As long as it doesn't exceed the purchase price of the house. Yes. The designer sucked in a sharp breath at Leo's casual display of wealth. He'd met plenty of people who bought luxury homes, but he'd never met anyone willing to spend the same amount on renovations. Still in shock, the designer didn't forget to flatter him. Mr. Miller, you are the most decisive and generous young man I have ever met. Truly an impressive accomplishment at your age. Not at all. Not at all, Leo said with a faint smile. I just got lucky with the family I was born into. The most lethal flex is the one delivered without a hint of arrogance. His single sentence silenced the designer. It also silenced every other miserable wage slave in the company who had overheard him. In unison, their hearts screamed, "Die, you evil capitalist." After they left the design company, the first thing Julianne said to Leo was, "You're not really going to spend $7 million renovating the new house, are you?" Leo shook his head. "Not really. What kind of furniture costs $7 million? Unless it's an antique. Then why did you say that? I just wanted to make sure they take the project seriously." "Oh, I see." Julianne nodded thoughtfully. Seeing her preoccupied expression, Leo asked, "What's on your mind?" Julianne thought for a moment. "Do I really have to go to your house for dinner tonight?" "Of course you do," Leo said without hesitation. "My parents specifically asked for you. They really want to meet you tonight. Can I not go? I'm too embarrassed to meet your parents. If you don't go, I'll be in so much trouble." "Oh, why don't you want to go?" Leo turned to look at her. Julianne looked down, stammering, "We've been together for so long, and you've been the one spending all the money on me. Now you bought me a house, and it's even in my name. In your parents' eyes, I must seem like some kind of scheming, gold-digging woman who tricked their gullible son. Why would you think that?" Leo shook his head firmly. "My parents are really easy to get along with. Besides, I was the one who offered to buy you the house. It's not like you asked for it, but they won't see it that way." Julian hesitated. "I've been thinking about it for the past few days, and I just don't feel right. Maybe we should change the name on the deed back to yours." "You silly girl, why are you worrying about this?" Leo gently flicked her on the forehead. "I gave you the house, so it's yours. You don't take back a gift. And besides, $7 million is really nothing to my family. My parents won't care about it. I'm still scared. What are you afraid of?" "I'm afraid your family won't like me." Leo gently wrapped an arm around her shoulders. "That's not going to happen, I promise. Don't worry." But Julianne started to say more, but Leo covered her mouth. "Sure." He didn't give her a chance to continue. "You're not going alone. I'll be with you. What are you so worried about?" "MMPH." Julianne looked into his serious eyes, thought for a few seconds, and finally nodded. It was strange. She didn't know when it started, but whenever Leo said, "I'm here," she felt like she could face anything with him, even a mountain of knives. Julianne, who had never trusted anyone, was willing to put 100% of her faith in Leo. Leo looked her up and down. "So you're going to meet my parents in this big, puffy jacket of mine?" "Oh, right." His words made her gasp. "Quick, let's go back to campus. While there's still time, I can change and put on some makeup. Don't bother with all that. Let's just go buy you something new." With that, Leo hit the gas and headed toward the city center. "I have clothes in my dorm. Why do we have to go buy more? It's the first time you're meeting my parents. You have to dress up a little. But if your parents find out you bought me clothes too..." "Enough with the nonsense, let's go." Leo cut her off, taking her by the arm and pulling her into the mall. "Hey Leo, let go of me. It's no use dragging me. I'm not going to try on any clothes." "TCH, you think that's going to stop me? I can buy them for you even if you don't try them on." Julianne had always been reluctant to let him buy her clothes. Seizing the opportunity, Leo was determined to finally get her a proper wardrobe. A few minutes later, Leo and Julianne were seated in the VIP lounge of a luxury boutique, watching as several models with similar height and build to Julianne walked past, showcasing the new winter collection. "See anything you like?" Leo asked her. "I'll have them bring it for you to try on." Julianne shook her head. "I'm not choosing a single thing." Leo immediately raised his hand to the VIP sales associate. "We'll take all of them, then." "Right away, Mr. Miller." Wait, no. I'll choose." Under Leo's tyrannical pressure, the poor girl was forced to pick out 3 high-end winter outfits. She had only wanted one, but Leo insisted she choose 3. After the purchase, Julianne picked the outfit most suitable for meeting his parents and changed right there in the store's dressing room. After changing, Leo took her to a salon to get her hair styled. The new clothes and hairstyle added an air of elegance to her natural beauty. It was more like putting the finishing touches on a masterpiece than a dramatic, ugly duckling transformation from movies. Her face, after all, was the best accessory. "Does this really look good?" Julianne asked, nervously fiddling with her hair. Leo gave her a thumbs up. "It looks drop-dead gorgeous." "Oh, be serious," she said, playfully swatting his arm. "Give me your honest, objective opinion from a normal guy's perspective." Leo stroked his chin, his eyes carefully scanning her from head to toe, and then blurted out, "Cute. Wholesome. My favorite." "Oh, get out of here," she said, punching his arm, her face blushing. "What did you hit me for?" Leo said, completely unfazed. "That is my objective, normal guy's opinion. Go away. I'm not talking to you anymore." By the time they left the mall, it was almost 5 o'clock, nearly dinner time. They didn't linger in the city, instead driving straight toward Elysian Estates. The security guard at the gate recognized Leo and immediately waved them through. He might not know every resident, but he certainly knew the young master of the house. When they arrived, Charles hadn't returned yet. Michelle was in the kitchen, giving instructions to the cook. Seeing her son arrive with his girlfriend, she came out beaming. "Son, you're back." "Yeah. Mom, is Dad not home yet? He had something come up last minute. He'll be home a little later." "Oh, okay." Leo nodded, then gestured to his mother. "Jules, this is my mom, Michelle Miller." Julianne immediately extended her hand. "It's so nice to meet you, Mrs. Miller. My name is Leo Miller, and I'm Julianne Hale's girlfriend." In her nervousness, she'd gotten their names completely backward. Her face instantly turned beet red. "It's lovely to—" Michelle paused, belatedly realizing the mix-up. "I'm so sorry, Mrs. Miller," Julianne stammered. My name is Julianne Hale, and I'm Leo's girlfriend." "It's all right, dear, don't worry," Michelle said, patting Julianne's hand with a warm smile. "Don't be nervous. Think of this as your own home." "Okay, Mrs. Miller." Julianne nodded, though she was still a bundle of nerves. The hand Michelle was holding was already starting to sweat. After the introductions, Michelle led Julianne to the living room couch, leaving Leo standing alone in the entryway. For some reason, he suddenly felt like he'd been dethroned. He quickly walked over and sat on the adjacent sofa. A maid brought a cup of tea from the kitchen. Michelle took it and personally handed it to Julianne. Seeing her future mother-in-law serve her, Julianne hastily stood, took the cup with both hands, and said respectfully, "Thank you, Mrs. Miller." "Not at all, dear," Michelle said with a warm smile. "Like I said, make yourself at home here. Don't be nervous." "Okay." Julianne held the cup, her face a mask of politeness. "You're so young and beautiful, Mrs. Miller. You look more like a sophisticated older sister. Talking to you feels like talking to a peer." "I'm not nervous at all." She was lying, of course. She was so nervous she could barely hold the cup steady. If you looked closely, you could see the tea trembling from her shaking hands. "Ha ha ha." Michelle laughed heartily at her words. "What a sweet mouth you have. I enjoy talking with young ladies like you, too." Leo sat nearby, listening to his mother and girlfriend engage in their round of commercial-grade flattery. He didn't dare interrupt, though sometimes, when a compliment was particularly over the top, he couldn't help but let out a snort of laughter. Each time, he was met with a pair of warning glares, which immediately silenced him. Poor Leo. Before long, Charles Miller returned home. Knowing it was Leo's father, Julianne quickly stood up to greet him at the door. Charles looked at the young woman standing next to his wife, adjusted his glasses, and gave her a thorough look. Although he had already done a background check on her, he had to pretend he was meeting her for the first time. "Dad, this is my girlfriend, Julianne Hale," Leo said, gesturing to her. He then turned to Julianne. "This is my father, Charles Miller." Julianne offered a sweet smile and extended her hand. "Hello, Mr. Miller. I'm Julianne Hale. A pleasure to meet you," Charles said, shaking her hand. "You're even more beautiful in person than in your pictures. It's my son's good fortune that you'd even look his way." "You're too kind, sir. I'm the one reaching," Julianne stammered, carefully filtering every word through her brain before speaking, terrified of saying the wrong thing. Watching her on high alert, so tense and earnest, Leo found her endearing. He thought back to the cunning, clever way she usually had him wrapped around her finger. The contrast was so stark, it was almost comical. Michelle glanced at her son. "What are you grinning about?" "Nothing. I was just thinking of something happy," Leo said, quickly changing the subject. "Are we having other guests tonight?" "No other guests," Charles said with a wave of his hand. "It's New Year's, so we just wanted to have you two home for dinner. No outsiders." Just then, Michelle added, "Dinner's ready. We can head to the table." "Okay," Julian nodded. "You two go ahead and sit. Leo, and I just need a moment." She shot a look at Leo. "All right. Dad, Mom, you guys go ahead. We'll be right there," Leo said, taking Julianne's hand and leading her outside. Julianne went to the car and retrieved the gifts she'd prepared for his parents from the trunk. There were some health supplements, 2 luxury brand scarves, and a gold and jade pendant she had bought for his mother. She had paid for everything herself. She wouldn't let Leo pay. When she was picking them out, she'd told him, "These are my gifts for your parents. Of course I'm going to pay for them. Don't you dare argue with me." Thank goodness she'd gotten the settlement money, or she wouldn't have been able to afford them. Carrying the gifts, they went back inside. Julianne presented them to the couple at the dining table. "Mr. and Mrs. Miller, this is my first time visiting, and it was a bit sudden, so I didn't have a chance to find out what you..." The familiar script reminded Leo of his first visit to her house. History always repeated itself. Charles and Michelle took the gifts, thanking her while also gently scolding her for spending so much money, telling her never to bring gifts again. The rest of the dinner was relaxed and pleasant, without any noteworthy incidents. Charles and Michelle expressed only sympathy and compassion for Julianne's past, showing no prejudice because of her humble background. There was no dramatic, here's $100 million. Leave my son. You're not good enough for him. The dinner went so smoothly that Julianne felt like she was in a dream. So, she decided to bring up the $7 million house. The moment she did, Charles pointed a finger at Leo and Bart. You rotten kid, look what you've done. Huh, what did I do? Leo pointed at his own face, completely baffled. He had no idea why his father was reacting so strongly. Julianne thought Charles was angry about Leo spending so much money on her. She immediately stood up and said apologetically, Mr. Miller, it's not Leo's fault. If you're going to blame someone, blame me. I'll transfer the house back to Leo's name tomorrow. Yes, good. Transfer it back, Charles nodded. You've been with this kid for so long, and all he gets you is a cheap $7 million shack? That's just disgraceful. Tomorrow, have Michelle show you around Elysian Estates. Pick out any house you like, and it's yours. What? Julian couldn't process his words. A cheap $7 million shack? Was he serious? And the villas in Elysian Estates were all worth over $100 million, weren't they? She turned and stared at Leo in utter shock. This wasn't a boyfriend. This was a living, breathing treasure chest. At that moment, Julian finally understood why so many girls at school wanted to snag a rich heir and marry into a wealthy family. Forget Julianne. Even Leo was stunned. He thought buying a multi-million-dollar house for his girlfriend was the height of extravagance, but compared to his old man, he was clearly an amateur. He couldn't help but sigh internally. Just how rich is the Miller family? Of course, Julianne refused Charles's offer of a mansion in Elysian Estates. She already owed the Miller family more than she could ever repay. How could she possibly accept a gift worth over $100 million? If she took it and Leo ever dumped her, 100 of her wouldn't be enough to pay back the debt. Not that such a thing would ever happen. Besides, she was now regretting not buying more valuable gifts for his parents. She felt sure they looked down on her meager offerings of supplements and trinkets that cost a few $1,000s. That was, of course, just her own perception. Charles and Michelle were quite fond of the young woman. Throughout the dinner conversation, Julianne had demonstrated a remarkable ability to adapt, deftly handling every topic with a nimble wit and intelligence that was naturally charming. Her performance had won their unanimous approval. Michelle was thinking that such a smart girl would be a great asset in helping her son manage the family business one day. Charles's considerations went much deeper. Beyond her personal capabilities, his main focus was her background. Compared to the so-called heiresses of Ethelberg's powerful families, Charles was far more inclined to support his son marrying a poor girl like Julianne, who had no connections or support system. Her parents were divorced. She was her mother's only support, and her mother was her only tie in this world. And his son was her mother's savior. These points alone guaranteed that she would never betray Leo. A smart, poor girl with no background, who was devoted to his son and would even be willing to die for him, was far easier to guide and control than any wealthy heiress. She would better ensure the family's prosperity and legacy. If Julianne hadn't fit these conditions perfectly, Charles would never have allowed his son to be involved with her for so long, let alone invite her to their home for dinner. In other words, Charles had accepted her as his future daughter-in-law the moment he finished his investigation. It sounded clinical, but this was Charles's art of managing people. A man who had been at the top for so long was not as harmless as he appeared on the surface. He wouldn't have held his position without such methods. After dinner, Julianne went for a walk in the backyard with Michelle, while Charles called Leo into his study. Once inside, Charles's smile vanished. He asked, his tone serious, "Are you still friend with Damien Sterling?" Leo nodded cautiously. Seeing his son's nod, Charles sighed. "Dad," Leo asked quietly, "I don't really understand. Why don't you want me hanging out with Damien?" "You don't understand, do you?" Charles sat down and gestured to another chair. "Sit." Leo quickly shook his head. "I'm fine standing." Charles let him stand. After the old man Donovan Sterling died, the Sterling family has been in turmoil over the inheritance. The eldest and second sons have formed two opposing factions, with a third, uninvolved son on the sidelines. Damien Sterling has the Song and Rose families behind him. His uncle, Marcus Sterling, is backed by the Jeong and Cole families. Of course, this is just a rough analysis. The allegiances within each family are not always fixed. The web of interest connecting these five families is a historical problem, impossible to untangle. Pull one thread, and the whole thing moves. Now that the leading family, the Sterlings, is in crisis, the other four are affected, yet they maintain a strange, magical balance. Our Miller family has always kept its distance from these families, remaining independent. By getting so close to Damien Sterling, you risk being pulled into this web. When his father, Donovan, invited you to dinner, that was his intention. However, I haven't given you any real power yet, so you can't represent the family. That invitation didn't amount to much, but, son, if you continue to be friends with Damien, you will inevitably be drawn into this whirlpool of family inheritance. Once you're in this game, there's no getting out. Aligning with those 5 families could strengthen the Miller family, but you have to understand something, son. We are very rich, but in terms of power and influence, we can't withstand the pressure of those 5 families united. If any one of them runs into trouble, the Miller family could become the scapegoat, the stepping stone. Do you understand what I'm saying? Hearing his father's words, Leo felt a chill run down his spine. He had always known Charles was no simpleton. A fool couldn't amass a billion-dollar fortune. But Charles usually acted so eccentric and was so good to him that Leo had let his guard down. This conversation, however, revealed a different side of his father, and a side of this book world he had never seen before. Thinking back, he remembered that later in his novel, the Jong family fell for supporting Marcus Sterling, and the Cole family was destroyed by Damien because of Ethan Cole's madness and obsession. From the author's perspective, it was just the inevitable downfall of villains, the satisfying plot points of the protagonist eliminating his enemies, written with a few strokes of his pen. But now, Charles had given him a new perspective, the view from within the book, revealing the deeper, more complex struggle for money and power that lay beneath the surface of a billionaire romance story. Leo suddenly remembered he had promised Ethan Cole he would attend his grandfather's birthday banquet. He immediately asked, "Dad, I promised Ethan Cole from the Cole family that I'd go to his grandfather's 80th birthday party. What? What should I do about that?" "A promise is a promise. Go. It's just dinner. Just don't go picking sides like you did at the Sterling's place," Charles said. He paused, then waved his hand. "I'm telling you all this today just to remind you to keep some distance from these 5 Ethelbert families. They're not exactly wolves, and as long as the Miller family doesn't get involved in their disputes, they can't threaten our foundation in this city. Okay, son, remember, Dad is your strongest supporter," Charles said, patting Leo on the shoulder. "Son, why is your shoulder so smooth?" "Dad, that's the back of the chair." "Oh," Charles put on his glasses. "Look at that. My eyesight is getting worse and worse." Leo didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "Dad, you should probably just keep your glasses on.